Chapter 51. Here comes that person. A bunch of people gathered in the bamboo forest, drinking, taking drugs, naked and acting crazy, and no one knew who suddenly said something. He's been in the limelight lately. Someone said with a smile, even the big sister can't do anything about him. Someone nearby laughed and said, with big sister's personality, who can she deal with? Then there's no need for him to humiliate the big sister. Suddenly someone said this, and the extravagant atmosphere and cynical laughter came to an abrupt end. The atmosphere was quiet, some people were laughing, some were looking around, and finally their eyes were focused on one person. He is big and strong, a typical fitness star. His seemingly tough facial features were turned into a snake-like face. Although his muscular body is full of muscles, they may be the products of technology. He stood up and said in a low voice, "What a bunch of cowards. I'm going to put a stop to his arrogance." Then he took in the stunned expressions of the crowd and left with satisfaction. After he walked away, the stunned crowd suddenly burst into laughter. One person laughed so hard that his stomach hurt, and he just held his stomach. That's what I told him. Just a few simple words and he had to act like a gun in a cannon. The people around him also smiled and agreed, "Brother, your opinion is great. Brother, you have a brilliant plan." Someone else pointed at him as he was leaving, "He doesn't even look at his own appearance, and he dares to expect Waylaya to like him." Someone pretended to be surprised and teased him, "He can only make some artificial people, derivative people and foreign women in the backyard." He almost said the truth, so he raised his hand to say, "That's not what I meant. I meant who would like him. He's not young anymore, and all he thinks about is pleasure and mating. He has many illegitimate children, and they are all useless. If you don't care, there are now illegitimate children of his everywhere in Zuxing, using his name to parade around. Next, there will be something interesting to watch. Do you want to join us in fanning the flames?" Someone stood up to invite, and others accepted. Only the one who laughed until his stomach hurt at the beginning was still smiling. "My dear brothers, go ahead and let me take my time. I will be there soon." After saying that, everyone said goodbye and left, leaving him alone. He immediately returned to normal, his smile disappeared, and he no longer covered his stomach. He is a chaotic person disguised as a rebel, with the purpose of causing trouble everywhere. Their political view is that the more chaotic things are, the better. By constantly stirring up trouble, they try to keep the situation in a state of chaos and order, thereby maintaining the living environment for mankind. The first person who went out to cause trouble for Yi Sui was called Wang Gangzi, which was the name he gave himself after he became famous. This name is a tribute to the Wei, Jin, southern and northern dynasties 10,000 years ago. He really liked the idea of a euro debauchery and living for the moment that was popular at that time. So they imitated the ancients and gave it a name that had the flavor of Tianxi Dao. Wang Gangzi is a classic hedonist, he wouldn't even be considered a rebel. Rebels have to know how to do something. Don't worry about whether it's a good job or a bad job. In short, rebels have to do something refreshing. The purpose of rebellion and the purpose of doing things is ultimately to express political views and gain attention. Rebellion, mischief, or whatever, are just means. The hedonists are different. They enjoy themselves for the sake of enjoying themselves. Their political views are only about comfort and enjoyment. "Hello, I'm Yi Sui." Yi Sui smiled and stretched out his hand to shake hands with her. With her mind and heart open, Mao Dandan was not as nervous as she appeared to be. She had a strong sense of anticipation. What is she expecting? There was also a sense of schadenfreude and curiosity, which some of the people present also felt. They are also mostly in the front row. Yi Sui realized at this moment that someone was looking for trouble. "No? Why are you all coming to trouble me?" Yi Sui remained calm on the surface, and then secretly told Bai Lingying about the incident, asking Bai Lingying not to leave his side. As for Secretary Lu, Yi Sui was a little suspicious that Secretary Lu knew about it. Yi Sui is not stupid and sweet. Secretary Lu has said several times that it is obviously impossible for him to just take his heart and soul as himself. Trust is built over time. Later, Yi Sui and his party took a floating bus, quite business-like. Mao Dandan, Yi Sui, Secretary Lu and Bai Lingying got into the car together. "Mr. Yi Sui. We are now taking the space elevator to the ancestral planet. We will probably land in the East 8th District, near latitude 40 degrees. Both the Moon and the Earth have their own revolution and rotation. Naturally, it cannot be relatively static like Z Mountain and Arm Star, and the landing point is always the same. Moreover, the Great Xia Alliance ordered that no aircraft may enter the ancestral planet except under special circumstances." Yi Sui felt in his heart that Mao Dandan was actually a bit repulsive and contemptuous of Bai Lingying. But Bai Lingying is her own woman. If you don't like her, you have to shut up, Yi Sui. This is what Waylaya said when she and Yi Sui were debating, is Bai Lingying considered a person? If one day someone asks Bai Lingying to kneel down, what should you do, Yi Sui? After Yi Sui sensed Mao Dandan's discrimination against Bai Lingying, he gradually became unwilling to pay attention to it. Mao Dandan was also keenly aware of the change in Yi Sui's attitude, and she didn't know why. Secretary Lu, a human spirit, was keenly aware of the reason. The reason Secretary Lu could detect it was because Secretary Liu's information was more comprehensive. He had already speculated that Yi Sui's ability could affect emotions and perceive emotions, so Yi Sui definitely discovered some of Mao Dandan's special emotions. Mao Dandan is a girl who is very good at disguising herself as a harmless good girl who can be bullied by others. But don't even think about bullying her. Secretary Lu burst out laughing and yelled, Yisui, how are you going to treat Ayane? Yisui's mind also clearly sensed Secretary Liu's emotional changes, and he suddenly realized that his strong interest and intense interest meant that he wanted to be picky about food. You can't keep being so dishonest. When Bai Lingyan heard that the topic had no foreshadowing, and Mao Dandan, an outsider, was present, it was suddenly directed towards her, and she was extremely panicked for a moment. When Mao Dandan heard this, she began to frown. Without thinking, the disgust in her expression could no longer be restrained. Yisui, this is a very important matter. If you don't handle it well, your family will be restless in the future. Yisui was also quite worried about this matter, but why did Secretary Lu say it out? His mood was always trying to provoke Mao Dandan. Mao Dandan couldn't bear it anymore. If Mao Dandan was not allowed to talk about this kind of topic, she would be suffocated to death. Although I don't really agree with you looking for metahumans and alien lovers outside, but remember that human beings have always been a society where husband and wife are the mainstay of marriage. The United Humanity and the Daxia Alliance only recognize the legal status of a pure-blood human woman as your wife, and also recognize the citizenship of the child born naturally between two pure-blood humans. She can only be considered your lover. You can also grant her special citizenship. You can also make her your affairs officer and gain political status. Mao Dandan pointed at Bai Lingyan and said eloquently, without the timid energy just now. She can even give you a child, but that child can only be considered an illegitimate child. You should understand what it means to have an illegitimate child. Chapter 52. Secretary Lu suddenly interrupted, and the more he spoke, the more he deviated. Dandan's father was a playboy. He married her mother, but he had affairs outside and eventually got divorced. Dandan was assigned to father, but the stepmothers he found didn't treat Dandan well. Then Dandan set up a trap and sent all those stepmothers to jail for crimes against humanity. Even her father was sentenced to more than 10 years for child abuse and failure to provide care and education. Secretary Lu burst into laughter after he finished speaking, but Mao Dandan was not at all angry about the revelation of her past. Instead, he took part in the discussion with great care and made useless excuses. That doesn't count as a stepmother. It's not me who set them up, it's just their nature. They have no self-awareness. You're making it sound like I'm scheming. If Yisui hadn't felt the joy and complacency in Mao Dandan's heart, he would have believed it. After hearing what Secretary Lu said, Yisui understood why Mao Dandan disliked Bai Lingyan. I also know why Mao Dandan has such a strong desire to express herself on this matter, which makes her scold her father over and over again. Before I can wait for Yisui to say anything, Bai Lingyan came over and knelt resolutely, tears welling up in her eyes, and she cried, I dare not hope for a high status, and I will never dare to do anything that is outrageous. I only ask. Bai Lingyan's voice became more and more trembling, I only ask that I can serve your highness for a long time, and I will be satisfied. Yisui hurriedly pulled Bai Lingyan up and comforted her, saying, why do you have to do this? Don't I know you well? Yisui was aware of the relationship between Secretary Liu's joy at eating melons and his reaction to Mao Dandan. Mao Dandan also has a slightly better impression of Bai Lingyan's self-awareness. And the bitterness, fear, and stubbornness in Bai Lingyan's heart to fight for what she wants at all costs. Mao Dandan seemed impatient, okay. Okay. I get it, no need to hint at me anymore. Sima Lu. Sima Lu was obviously the nickname Mao Dandan gave to Secretary Lu. Yisui, be careful, someone wants to do something to you, said Mao Dandan. Yisui had just calmed Bai Lingyan down, and was speechless for a moment when he heard this. Why are there so many people who want to cause trouble? Yisui complained. Secretary Lu explained, because you have a lot of traffic. They are doing things to you because they want to use your traffic. Yisui couldn't stand being constantly being used as a hot topic, so he suggested, I think, instead of passively accepting the attack, we should take the initiative. You have to set a good example for yourself, and after you've done your job, you have to let others praise you. If you want to slap someone in the face, you have to use your hands. It doesn't matter if you are physically weak. I have technology here. Mao Dandan and Secretary Lu came up with ideas almost at the same time, with great interest on their faces. The high-end banquet hall of Heaven on Earth in Beijing, the administrative capital of Zuxing. When Yisui arrived at Zuxing, the huge 3 relics were still preserved in Beijing. Heaven on Earth was built on the edge of the ruins, with the original intention of providing a welcome for returning humans and allowing them to directly visit the ruins. Later, it became a trend to eat delicacies from mountains and seas in paradise on Earth and to have S*X in the ruins. No one from the Moon Palace military came down with them, only Mao Dandan represented them. On this side of the Earth, there are about dozens of pure-blooded humans waiting in heaven and Earth. According to Secretary Liu's information, there are approximately several thousand permanent humans on Earth. Most of them just like to enjoy themselves, and those who are interested want to cause trouble here with Yisui, so it is naturally impossible for them to come to welcome Yisui. Secretary Lu first took Yisui to meet those people who came to welcome Yisui. Human beings still adhere to mysterious principles, although there are almost no alien races on the ancestral planet. They are either humans, derivatives, or artificial humans. But I still found a private room for myself. Mao Dandan wanted to build her own image, so she didn't get too involved in such things and ate at the table by herself. Most of these people were just a little curious and didn't have too many thoughts or requests for Yisui. After all, the political quality of the people who remain in the hinterland is really average. Maybe they are good people, or have some knowledge in some small areas. They are an important part of human society. After all, there are only 1.6 billion humans now. When there is a real shortage of people, we can fill in. After all, every big family has a few silly kids. Secretary Lu was there, a smart guy. Yisui had a very harmonious conversation with them. Some of them even said they were ready to help if needed. Now, the fish is hooked. Hey! Isn't this some W who got lucky and hooked up with a certain master, thinking that she has become a golden phoenix after flying into the sky like a hen? There was ABCH, with low IQ and EQ, but good looks and figure. So much so that she had an obvious mission-oriented expression on her face, and was obviously bullying and mocking Bai Lingian in every way possible, without even a sister to talk to her. Bai Lingian is such a smart girl. With the mentality of not causing trouble, she directly used cold violence against her. Then this BCH exploded under the instigation of a few fake girlfriends. Bai Lingian was at a loss for words. She secretly asked herself, where's her brain? Bai Lingian saw her explode, and without arguing, she quickly dodged. When the shrew saw Bai Lingian was stunned at first and then ran away, she thought she had escaped and became even more bold and reckless. Just like a shrew cursing. You BCH, what kind of family or background do you have to stand with us? She is nothing but AWRE's daughter, an expelled illegitimate daughter, who just hooked up with that lord. A kind-hearted bodhisattva pulled her, but she didn't appreciate it. What's wrong? Am I wrong? Wasn't her mother creating her for entertainment? She used her fox skills to seduce the second young master of the Sui family. She is stronger than her mother, but isn't she still AWRE? As she looked around, she saw expressions of disapproval on other people's faces. At this moment Yisui heard the news and rushed over. When Bai Lingian saw Yisui, she immediately burst into tears and hid behind Yisui crying. Oh! Sir, you've come just in time. You, my little lover, don't know the rules. I'll teach you a lesson. She was addicted to scolding stupid BCH and she didn't know how to restrain herself even when Yisui came. After she finished scolding, she added something smugly. So that you don't lose face by taking her out with you, and also lose the dignity you all share. The plastic girlfriend who fanned the flames before is now dumbfounded. No sister, are you so brave? Yisui was really irritated. He looked at the arrogant and ignorant fool in front of him. This idiot who was treated as a gun. And this group of idiots can enter museums and exhibit organic species diversity. Yisui took a step forward, listening to everything, using his heart and brain together, giving everyone in the audience a strong sense of fear and oppression. Who are you? Who am I? Yisui spoke faster and faster, pointing at her with one hand, and with the other hand he picked up a bottle of red wine and threw it on the ground, then pointed at the floor covered with wine and glass shards. Kneel down and talk to me first. It was so powerful, whether it was the voice, the bottle, or her knees. Yisui's anger burned the BCH's courage. She trembled, was terrified, and her legs and feet went weak. Just like that, he knelt down. The expensive, brightly colored dress was stained with wine, and glass shards pierced her knee, causing blood to flow. Humble tears are falling. Yisui turned away from looking at her, as if he was about to leave, but he said slowly, knock. Wang Gangzi finally arrived, and saw a mess on the ground, and a BCH kneeling on the ground in extreme shame. The BCH's master finally arrived with a frown on his face. When the BCH saw her master coming, she immediately crawled over like a dog. She's just about to grow a tail and wag it to please you. Keep knocking. The BCH master was even more disdainful of her and didn't want to care about her life or death at all. Why can Yisui's Bai Lingian withstand all the pressure and humiliation? Why does my woman, Wang Gangzi, give in so quickly? He didn't hit you, he didn't threaten you. He just gave a look and said an angry word. If I tell you to kneel, you kneel. You represent my face, you are my woman, and you are carrying my child. Even if the child is just an illegitimate child, your identity shouldn't be so simple, and you kneel down on the ground to save my face. You said, is it difficult to kneel down when I am pregnant? I'm looking for you to cause trouble, isn't it because I'm counting on the child you're carrying? Chapter 53. Wang Gangzi, with great momentum, chased after Yisui recklessly. The group of bad friends who had fooled him in the bamboo forest before set up a live broadcast and chased after him with a smirk on their faces. They just want the world to be in chaos, and their rebellious spirit is to go against authority. But that doesn't mean the rebels are useless. They also had some constructive suggestions. Rebels can be divided into creative rebels and destructive rebels. Yisui also sensed Wang Gangzi's anger and realized that he was about to come over. Mao Dandan, who was keeping watch, also discovered the people who were broadcasting live behind him and following him and laughing. Those rebellious lunatics naturally acted like this to attract attention. Just know that what they want is attention, and all their behaviors are ways of getting it. As for whether the behavior is good or bad, or whether it is stupid or not, don't worry about it. Please respect human diversity. Later, Yisui and Secretary Lu both learned about this incident. Secretary Lu immediately passed the news to the Senate and asked his good friends. A friend replied to him with a message that someone had set up a live broadcast screen in the central square of the Senate. Moreover, a lot of effort has been spent on publicity, which has attracted quite a few people to gather. The Senate did not intervene in this matter. Secretary Lu immediately understood why this happened. As the saying goes, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the aureole behind it. There is also a hunter holding a slingshot. But everyone has their own purpose and plan. At this moment, Secretary Lu handed the information directly to Yisui without thinking or hesitation. As for who set up the game? I'm sorry, Secretary Lu knows that he is Yisui's secretary. At AM Starport, Secretary Lu followed Yisui aboard without hesitation, having already made his choice. Fleeing back to the Senate in disgrace and then having his reputation ruined was obviously not an option Lu Yida was willing to accept. Now that you have made your choice, don't hesitate. Loyalty is not absolute, it is absolutely disloyal. Yisui, the news from the Senate is that they have started a live broadcast in the Senate. They are probably trying to use this opportunity to become famous by stepping on you. Yisui was so upset when he heard this. No, when they cause trouble, they only do petty thefts like this. Yisui asked angrily. Secretary Lu smiled awkwardly, after all, we have reached a consensus and will not do anything too outrageous. After all, we are all human beings. We may fight over some things, but ultimately, interests are more important than anything else. Yisui got this answer again, and didn't want to dwell on it, so he asked, then what should we do? There is a snake-like creature in the interstellar space. The tentacles on its head can disguise itself as insects. Secretary Lu said in code. Yisui smiled knowingly and understood what Secretary Lu meant. They want to step on my head to get to the top, so I'll step on their faces to get to the stage. When Yisui led Bai Lingyan into the box, more than a dozen people had already left. I think they also received the news and don't want to get involved too much here. Those who stayed behind were either ill-informed or completely unaware. Either they want to watch the fun or they are born to be fun-loving people. Or he also has a position related to ancestor worship, which requires a work relationship with Yisui. Of course I can't just leave like this, otherwise it would be difficult to get along with him at work in the future. Mr. Yi, what happened outside? Someone asked knowingly. Everyone has their own thoughts, and nothing can hide from Yisui's mind. Yisui feels that the heart and brain are more useful than just sensing and manipulating emotions, but he has not developed them enough now. The stage is set, the lights are on, and Yisui's eyes are bright. Waiting for the show to start, what do the audience think? The Pantheon, the Senate, and the Central Square. During this period, more and more humans gathered in the Senate, and now there are about 800 million humans gathered. The Zyway star field has entered a state of extra special security alert. The White Tiger 7 stars and the Black Tortoise 7 stars also dispatched troops to participate in local patrols and security. The Imperial Guards, Big Dipper, are also on the alert. The people in the Central Square had no sense of impending storm, they were called here by their friends to watch a show that claimed to expose the true face of the recent famous person Yisui. In the office building, people who were also watching the broadcast through other means were all concerned about everything that happened on the ancestral planet. This is obviously a concrete manifestation of factional struggle. Although this matter seemed to be led by the rebels, in fact, the Chaos faction was behind it. The conciliatory faction was happy to see this happen and also fanned the flames in the Senate. The hardliners, such as Guru Okan and Kuang Jingtong, just smiled at each other when faced with this scene. Yisuya Euro trademark's recent speeches, especially his views in the debate with Vilya, have already reached the Senate, but have not spread due to the Senatia Euro trademark's conscious control. At that time, Yisui obviously had more common topics with their hardliners, and absorbing Yisui, a new political force, into the hardliners became the mainstream view within the faction. At this time, the opponent sent an assist, which is like icing on the cake, but it is better to send charcoal in the snow. Just when they started to make trouble for Yisui, the hardliners rushed forward and protected Yisui behind them. Yisui will surely be very grateful, and because of the consensus on concepts, they will surely become comrades. The hardliners have their own plans, so they will naturally wait until the other side launches an attack before taking action. The three centrist bosses, Chairman of the Organization Committee, Maki, Chairman of the Logistics Committee, Dong Ceci, and Chairman of the Military Committee, Han Chong, remained seated. They were also struggling in their hearts, whether to stop it or let it go. With the resignation of the centrist leader Yuan Piazi due to the Amstar incident, the centrists suffered heavy losses. Although the public has not expressed the intention to pursue the matter, it does not mean that they are all fools. The silent masses can turn a deaf ear and dumb again and again for the sake of the alliance, but they know everything in their hearts as clearly as a mirror. Some things, just do it. Eat a Euro trademark s best not to let them a Euro or no a Euro, otherwise once they can no longer a Euro or play dumb ba Euro, they will just do something extreme. The tyrant who led the 7th, 8th, and 9th interstellar expeditions in succession but was beaten to death and beheaded by the silent masses in the end has a say. As long as Yisui goes on stage to report it, Yuan Piazi will surely be voted by the angry rabble to be hanged. Then Yuan Piazi must have been the human hero who was entrusted with the task of turning the tide during the 12th interstellar crusade 1,000 years ago. In an instant, he became the first pure-blooded human to be executed by collective decision of mankind in nearly 1,000 years. Even his reputation was ruined and he became a criminal. Yuan Piazi was also watching the live broadcast at home. Ariel was not in the Senate. Oh, right. The former deputy chief and current acting chief Gong Kai is in the office, mechanically stamping with a tired face. He didn't even look at it, but he required that all documents be reviewed by the organization, logistics, and military committees before being brought back. Even so, he was still muttering, why can't we install an automatic stamping machine in the chief's office? Euro humans are really conservative in their application of cutting-edge technology. Euro. Chapter 54. The stage was set up in the box, and Yi Sui found a chair for Bai Lingyan to sit on. Audience entry completed. Then the drama begins, and the actors are invited to come on stage. The first to appear is the villain, Wang Gangzi. Come on stage. His scalp has fewer folds than his SM. He has a body of thick but uncoordinated muscles, a big and strong body, but a face that looks like a snake. It made a muffled buzzing sound and rushed in aggressively. Who is Yi Sui? Stand up for me. Of course he knew who Yi Sui was. This was called taking the initiative. The originally noisy box fell silent for a moment because of his intrusion. Yi Sui's mind and brain were capturing everyone's emotional changes throughout the process. I feel like most people are just having fun, but there are also some honest people who really get annoyed by this kind of troublemaking. This shows that although the passers-by in the field may not necessarily help, at least they will not take sides. The so-called powerful and wealthy outside should be more discerning and stay away from them. As for those people from the original bamboo forest who did not come to the welcoming banquet but wanted to cause trouble, they prepared a complete set of live broadcast equipment. 360-degree photography without blind spots, all-round Dolby sound recording, and the highest level of interstellar thermal ground state photon signal transmission ensure simultaneous synchronization and three-dimensional refraction reproduction. Fortunately, there is no border wall between the first border and the hinterland, otherwise it would be impossible to achieve simultaneous synchronization. They were very happy about other people's misfortune, and even a little bit happy and cheerful. Wang Gangzi was angry, unwilling, and fearful, and the fear was even causing him to feel fear in his heart. This person hasn't even met yet, but the troublemaker has already backed down. How can this fight be fought? Yi Sui ignored him and continued chatting with Secretary Lu. Yi Sui's physical fitness is too poor to win a fight. No matter how powerful his mind and brain are at manipulating emotions, he can never change other people's minds. Secretary Lu gave Yi Sui a pair of gloves made of special material, but Secretary Lu did not specify what material it was. The quality and density of the gloves are extremely high, but the ductility is good. The fingertips of the gloves have been modified to guide gravity. A small hidden gravity-guided changing device was installed on Yi Sui's clothes. This equipment can be used to change the direction of the glove's movement, allowing Yi Sui to punch out with a weight of tens of thousands of pounds. In the interstellar era 10,000 years from now, humans will have to undergo relevant genetic modification and enhancement to achieve a force of 10,000 pounds without the help of external objects. However, humans are unlikely to accept genetic modification if it destroys the stability of their genes. Even if someone has been strengthened in various ways, that person will never appear on Zuxing to eat and wait for death. 10,000 pounds is enough to deal with Wang Gangzi. And it's not obvious. To outsiders, Yi Sui is just wearing a pair of gloves. Even though everyone could guess that there was something wrong with the gloves, people would only think that Yi Sui was smart and prepared, and it would not affect his expressiveness in the communication. When everyone saw Yi Sui paying attention to Wang Gangzi, they seemed to have a tacit understanding and continued chatting among themselves. Wang Gangzi, who had rushed in aggressively, suddenly no one paid any attention to him. The cold violence made Wang Gangzi angry and he rushed directly towards Yi Sui. When depicting the conflict between good and evil in film and television shooting, one thing is to give the villain enough deterrence. This will give the protagonist a higher sense of anticipation for defeating the villain. On the other hand, even if you know that the villain is a clown trash, you can't portray him as too trashy. This way the audience will think that the protagonist's victory over the rebellion is natural and have no expectations. Director Yi Sui constructs the entire scene with his mind and brain, and then simulates the situation on the scene in his mind. Although Wang Gangzi's momentum diminished at the beginning, he still looked very ferocious, and was considered quite powerful by ordinary people in the Senate. Wang Gang ran towards Yi Sui like a madman, like a wild beast, his muscles twitching non-stop, his expression ferocious, his mouth wide open as if to eat someone. Yi Sui didn't look at him, but he could tell in his mind that he was about to charge at him. Yi Sui didn't look at him, nor did he hide from him. This kind of disdain and calmness was an insult in Wang Gangzi's eyes, making his emotions further out of control. And what is this in the eyes of the people in the Senate? This is a kind of steadiness, calmness, and disdain for the weak that is unique to the strong. Then just when Wang Gangzi bumped into Yi Sui was well prepared and used an invincible frame to dodge the attack elegantly. Wang Gangzi was completely unable to stop the car and rushed over and hit his head on the dining table. Yi Sui did not get a single leaf on his body, then raised his glass to toast the audience and drank it all in one gulp. Elegant. Invincible. The people in the Senate couldn't help but get excited when they saw this scene. Although Yi Sui's operation is not difficult to achieve in the interstellar era, but everyone knows that Yi Sui has not undergone any genetic modification or body enhancement. He had even just woken up from hibernation. Therefore, this is what the public thinks of Yi Sui's strong psychological quality and his strong sense of control over the entire conflict process. He acted calm and unhurried, all because of his confidence in his own abilities. It is exactly what a strong, calm, confident and situation-controlled leader needs. Once someone has this idea, it will never go away. Wang Gangzi was the only clown throughout the whole process, not even able to stop suddenly. Wang Gangzi is of course not a real clown, it is just that Yi Sui uses his mind and brain to influence his emotions in order to affect his cerebellum nerve control. Wang Gangzi was able to stop in this way, but Yi Sui did not give him the chance to stop. The group of rebellious photographers outside were all cursing Wang Gangzi's incompetence in their hearts. And the mastermind behind the chaos faction disguised as a rebellion. He had other thoughts. He understood that Yi Sui had already discovered it and had made adequate preparations. The plan is about to be folded. On the other hand, Secretary Liu helped Yi Sui contact many people he knew in the Senate. They were in the crowd, building momentum for Yi Sui and controlling the direction of public opinion. While they were promoting, they found themselves in the same industry. Oh, and eat a Euro trademark S right next to home. The rebels are also suppressing Yi Sui and trying to manipulate public opinion. The silent masses are well aware of this, but they don't care about the process, they just want a result. They don't care which faction you belong to, what your political views are, or what your opinions are. They just want change, and a future that you can give them. Wang Gangzi knew that he had lost face, so he got up and didn't care about the vegetable leaves on his expensive clothes. Directly pointing to Yi Sui, FKU Yi Sui slapped him. If you are disrespectful to your ancestors and speak nonsense, you should be slapped in the face. Yi Sui added. The tone of voice throughout the whole process was like he was teaching a little kid a lesson. Indeed, Yi Sui's body is already 9,800 years old. Put together, they are Wang Gang's ancestors. Yi Sui's mother, Mo Sui Sui, is very likely to be a close sister of one of Wang Gang's ancestors, so she should be considered an ancestor. What's wrong with that? Do you think Yi Sui deliberately took advantage of Wang Gang? Even if he did, Yi Sui is still Wang Gang's ancestor. These words were constantly discussed among the people in the Senate. Chapter 55. A punch weighs 10,000 kilograms, but a slap has a large contact area. But this slap on Wang Gangzi's face would inevitably cause facial bones to break. Wang Gangzi's face collapsed in half, in a physical sense. He stood up staggeringly, the fear in his eyes became more and more intense, and he already regretted taking a dip in the muddy water. However, Wang Gang only felt that everyone's eyes were focused on him and they were laughing at him. Oh. Except for Yi Sui, who never looked at him directly. The deepest contempt is just turning a blind eye. Although Wang Gangzi is decadent and incompetent, pampered and enjoying life in comfort, he is a complete loser who is obsessed with human privileges. However, Wang Gangzi was never willing to be humiliated like this. He will still have to hang out in the world of Zuxing from now on. After losing all his face, no one will give Wang Gangzi face anymore. Wang Gangzi glared at Yi Sui, holding his broken jawbone. After all, that curse word stuck in my mouth and I couldn't say it out. The reason was not that Wang Gangzi remembered his childhood teachings, nor that his moral quality suddenly improved a lot. But Yi Sui's slap was raised again. Wang Gangzi was scared again. It was indeed Yi Sui's mind and brain that was manipulating his emotions, but after all, the mind and brain were not consciousness modifiers or hypnosis controllers. The heart and brain are nothing more than amplifying or shrinking the emotions in you. In any case, they are out of the realm of your own emotions. For example, Secretary Liu is not afraid of Yi Sui, but Yi Sui can still use this trick to force him to be afraid for a moment. It was this moment that almost ruined his lifelong reputation. This will inevitably make him doubtful, and then he becomes aware of Yi Sui's ability. Wang Gangzi's emotions were like a puppet on strings in front of Yi Sui. He could cry if he wanted to, and laugh if he wanted to make him laugh. But now Wang Gangzi's emotions of timidity, weakness, and flight have firmly taken over. Yi Sui was immediately shocked. Why is this person such a waste? How much waste do humans have in the interstellar world now? Doesn't a Euro trademark T it mean that humans have received the most high-end education from childhood to adulthood? Is this the case? Head of the Basic Education Committee, you really should go to the gallows. Hundreds of millions of people in the Pantheon and the Senate are watching the live broadcast, and nearly 10 million people have gathered in the central square of the Senate alone. Those rebel buddies are bursting with laughter. This is even more attention than when they blew up the Senate. Justin, the mastermind behind the Chaos faction, had a confident expression on his face and secretly laughed at a group of fools. This group of rebels are just a bunch of clowns. They think they are unappreciated for their talents and are being ostracized everywhere. Little do they know that they are too naive politically. Director Yi Sui was very panicked. What should I do if the actor doesn't cooperate? Yi Sui hurriedly adjusted his emotions, tried his best to keep his fear to a minimum, and then continued to increase his anger, humiliation, and pride. You have to be angry. You have to rush towards him. You have to prove that you are not also a waste. Yi Sui suddenly discovered another way to listen to all things, the sound of confusion. It is more useful when it is combined with the heart and brain. Wang Gangzi, what are you waiting for? FK him. Yi Sui kept urging him using his skill of listening to all things. Wang Gangzi clenched his fists tightly, tears welling up in his eyes, gritted his teeth, and looked aggrieved. This surprised Yi Sui. You came out aggressively and ruined the situation. Why do you think I'm bullying you? Didn't a Euro trademark T you bully men and dominate women first? Just when Yi Sui lost interest in continuing to torture him and was ready to kick him away. No matter how much his emotions were stirred up, Wang Gangzi just couldn't bear the thought of taking action against Yi Sui again. Everyone present thought that this farce ended in an anticlimax and ended with Wang Gangzi's absolute frustration and incompetence. Everyone in the Senate also lamented that Wang Gangzi was too cowardly and useless. At this time, some prominent people immediately jumped out to criticize the Basic Education Committee. What is this teaching? If the next generation is such a playboy, will there be a future? The basic education system must be reformed. Some people even agreed with it, and it gradually resonated with more people. Seeing that they were at a deadlock, the rebels and Justin had to come in early and clash with Yi Sui personally to let the drama continue. Yi Sui's operation weakened, and Wang Gangzi regained some self-emotional control. Everyone thought that the villain should be replaced and a new drama would be staged. We can always do some big work for everyone with 6 souls leaving the body. Wang Gangzi suddenly looked in one direction with fierce eyes, gnashing his teeth in hatred, his whole body trembling, his muscles twitching with desire at this moment. Bai Lingyan also dared to secretly stick her head out to see what was happening. Lita Euro trademark SC if Yi Sui is injured. It was this cute little head and the scene that allowed Wang Gangzi, who was humiliated and had nowhere to vent, to find his target. Wang Gangzi blamed Bai Lingyan for all the insults he had suffered. He now hated Bai Lingyan very much. If Bai Lingyan didn't conflict with her 13th concubine, could she conflict with Yi Sui? Of course it was Wang Gangzi himself who arranged for his concubine to find Bai Lingyan, so it would be best to quarrel with him. Of course, it was her concubine who first embarrassed herself and then lost face. She was so frightened by Yi Sui's words that she knelt on the ground with her face on. That's why I went to cause trouble for Yi Sui, and that's why I suffered this humiliation. Is it all the fault of Bai Lingyan, that lowly woman of humble origin? Yi Sui made his pregnant woman kneel down and kowtow to you. I, Wang Gangzi, also want your girlfriend to kneel down and kowtow to me. Only then can we be considered even. Here Aku is calling an expert. But that's not right. If someone asks, didn't you send someone to cause trouble for Bai Lingyan first? Isn't the fault yours? So what? Wang Gang would most likely ask back without any shame, even as a matter of course, I just don't like her, so what's wrong with me finding someone to mess with AWRE's daughter? Is she a human being? She is not even a human being. Even if I kill her, what will happen? With this mentality, the angry Wang Gangzi accelerated and reached out to grab Bai Lingyan. Bai Lingyan just stared at the scene blankly, and she could only raise her fair arms pitifully and sadly to be beaten. She didn't even dare to move her bones, fearing that the mutual force would hurt Wang Gangzi. How Yi Sui controls Wang Gangzi is a problem within humanity itself. Even if they were disabled, humans would close the door and discuss the matter among themselves. Most of them are lifted high and put down gently. And what was Bai Lingyan's background? What authority did he have? Even if he was wrong, so what? You just have to bear it. Yi Sui really didn't react. He never thought that such a coward would dare to attack the weak with such a heavy punch. It really fits the saying, the cowardly are angry and draw their swords to attack the weaker ones. Humans have always enjoyed challenging the strong. Can those who bully the weak be expelled from the human race? Moreover, Yi Sui's own nerve reaction and speed could not keep up at all, and it was too late to rescue Bai Lingyan. Wang Gangzi, seeing that Yi Sui did not stop him immediately, changed his claws to fists. A punch was about to hit Bai Lingyan's delicate and beautiful face. This punch is meant to break his face. Right now, at this critical moment, it is urgent. Mao Dandan, who was sitting not far from Bai Lingyan and watching the show, saw her figure flash and kick Wang Gangzi hard. Mao Dandan is not a waste like Wang Gangzi at all. Mao Dandan's merciless kick will definitely break several ribs of Wang Gangzi. Yi Sui's powerful mental pressure, filled with anger, rushed straight towards Wang Gangzi. He rushed forward and kicked him hard a few times, causing his feet to hurt a little. Bent down and pull Wang Gangzi up. The raised hand was about to break the jawbone of his significant other. At this time, someone grabbed Yi Sui's hand. Suddenly someone rushed over and grabbed Yi Sui's hand which was about to hit someone. Yi Sui's mind sensed something and he immediately let go of Wang Gangzi's hand, and Wang Gangzi fell to the ground. Then Yi Sui slapped the man hard on the face with his backhand, causing him to step back violently until he fell and sat on the floor. The heart and brain were affecting his reaction throughout the whole process. It was done in one go and almost simultaneously. It was like Yi Sui was prepared and waiting for someone to come and take the slap. It's just to embarrass you, make you lose face and become socially dead. Don't you love to show off and get traffic? This will make you a joke among humans. Yi Suling stepped forward and rebuked him coldly. If you have no shame, I will step on your face. This is to announce my debut. Chapter 56. Justin walked into the private room, and they looked at Yi Sui without blinking, as if Yi Sui was the only one in the world who deserved his attention. Wang Gangzi lay on the ground like a dead dog, blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. He knew that he could no longer survive on Zuxing, and his already limited reputation was wiped out in an instant. In the past, various derivative families and alien races sought his protection and offered him various rare items and women. Everyone will understand that his reputation has plummeted in value. The rebel member A who was slapped away was not seriously injured. His physical quality and genetic development were definitely much better than Wang Gangzi's. But he was a little confused, and he observed carefully for a long time. Obviously Yi Sui's speed and reaction are not fast enough. Even if Yi Sui could prepare in advance, with his speed, he would be able to dodge it without any surprise. Why? Why couldn't I avoid that moment at all? At this time, there was a round of applause. Good move. Justin led everyone over. Yi Sui knew that the real villain had finally appeared, and looked at them with an unhappy face. What's your purpose? Yi Sui took the initiative and asked first. To eradicate injustice for mankind, the rebels answered in unison. Yi Sui frowned instantly, and he felt that they were trying to make use of this issue. So he immediately sent a message to Mao Dandan, help me take Bai Lingyan away, quickly. Upon hearing this, Mao Dandan immediately pulled Bai Lingyan up and was about to leave. Some people have surrounded them. Mao Dandan was just pretending to be a person at this time. Anyway, her fake persona was known to everyone. Mao Dandan was about to force her way in when Justin spoke. Mr. Yi Sui, did you ask Wang Gangzi's female friend to kneel down to you just now? Yi Sui naturally wouldn't talk to them about this honestly. Justin knew very well that Yisui didn't want to cooperate, so he just talked to himself. Mr. Yisui asked Mr. Wang Gangzi's pregnant female friend to kneel down. Yes, it was Wang Gangzi's female friend who first provoked Mr. Yisui's female friend, Ms. Bai Ling. But that was just a conflict between them. If there was a quarrel between two women, we would intervene. We have too many trivial matters to deal with. What do you think, everyone? Most of the people in the box have artificial humans, derivatives, and alien lovers. Even if they agree with Justin, no one will speak nonsense. Justin continued to adjust the mood and opinions of the crowd, but he found it extremely difficult to apply the public speaking education and skills he had received. People's emotions today were particularly strange, and Justin couldn't understand them. No matter what is right or wrong between them, no matter how they quarrel, it should not be elevated to the level of human beings. Wang Gangzi was angry because of Mr. Yisui's intervention. Of course, it was wrong for him to start first. Putting that aside, Mr. Yisui, are you not at fault at all? Yisui said nothing, but in his heart he shouted the best of the best. Justin made a mistake in this sentence, which made the audience frown. Yisui retorted, put all that aside, what's the point of talking about right and wrong? She bullied my people, I can't stand it, I can make them kneel down. Now you understand. Justin nodded, that's right. Mr. Yisui. She is just a derivative, a man-made thing. If you don't like her, she should kneel down to you. It doesn't matter if you kill her. Justin had been setting up the trap for a long time, and he couldn't help feeling secretly happy and proud. But if Mr. Wang Gangzi wants your female friend, Bai Ling, to kneel down to him, shouldn't it be reasonable? And yet you had to beat Mr. Wang Gangzi up like you did today. Isn't this unfair? Yisui said nothing, his expression was very ugly, his previous premonition was indeed confirmed. After hearing these words, Bai Ling thought that she had caused trouble for Yisui, and she couldn't help but feel worried and guilty. Does Mr. Yisui disagree? Does he not support it? Excuse me, if Mr. Yisui can make a mother who is pregnant with a half-human child kneel down, then why can't Wang Gangzi make a woman who is a derivative of Mr. Yisui kneel down? Excuse me, everyone. Is this unfair? Justin walked around the field, questioning everyone, and even the people in the Senate, giving them psychological hints. Derivatives are not human beings, and there is a natural and insurmountable level gap between them and humans. This is the consensus of mankind. Justin almost put Yisui against everyone. Yisui remembered what AI girl Yi Meng once told him, when there is a conflict between the authority of two people, the decision should be made based on the authority of the two people. I won't let Bai Ling kneel to anyone. She is my woman. Even if she is an object, I won't let anyone destroy it if I don't want to. When the wishes and authority of two people conflict, we should decide according to the authority. Fortunately, my clearance is high enough to protect her whom I cherish. As for Wang Gangzi, I can only hope that he can improve and stop being such a coward. Otherwise, no one will respect him. Yisui spoke eloquently and calmly, but he was able to transform the conflict between the individual and the collective into one between individuals. He also found support for himself from a personal perspective and glorified his behavior of beating Wang Gangzi. From private fighting to education. Permission. Permission. Permission again. Justin triggered the keywords again and immediately made an annoyed expression. Privileges are nothing more than proof that you were born early. Justin said, but human rights are God-given. You and I are equal. Why? Justin was dissatisfied, why can you be ranked second as soon as you show up, get attention, get flattery, and get power? And we can only be silenced, ignored, and even our anger is just a silent whisper. And you blame us for being pleasure-seeking and doing nothing. Justin knew very well that in order to gain the resonance of the people, he had to bring the silent people and the hedonists into the camp. Is it because we don't want to act? Is it because we don't have the courage and spirit to shed blood and sacrifice our lives for humanity? Do we want to be the unworthy descendants who let down our ancestors? Justin was shouting, he cherished the opportunity to appear in front of hundreds of millions of people, he had to show that he was capable. It's you old fools who rely on your seniority to occupy high positions and bully others. It is you who are blocking the way for our new generation. Justin showed his true colors and aimed his spearhead directly at the Senate, the remnants of the expedition era who have long held actual power. The so-called Xiang Zhuang dancing with a sword, aimed at Pei Gong. Chapter 57. It was because of Yisui that the AMU Star incident was triggered. This led to Yuan Pei's resignation and severely damaged the centrist faction. The powerful faction wanted to take advantage of the opportunity brought by Yisui to launch a large-scale foreign war. In order to protect Yuan Pei's and the faction's survival, the centrists sided with the hardliners. A revenge war involving billions of lives and tens of millions of star regions has begun. The vacancy of the highest power, the chaos in the upper echelons of the Senate, and the inaction of the temporary chief hedonist Gong Kai. The conciliatory faction, the rebellious faction, the chaotic faction, and some politically frustrated people keenly sensed the opportunity. They rushed forward like wolves smelling blood, madly and tacitly. Yisui had already been caught in the center of the vortex, and he had no choice at that moment. The so-called going out to avoid disaster and the so-called unwillingness to get involved are nothing but wishful thinking. But yet, who do you think you are plotting against? You asked for this. Justin was under the spotlight, speaking nonsense, wantonly causing chaos and provoking fights. The existing stakeholders who were firmly seated in their offices in the Senate building had cold and indifferent faces. And the vast majority of silent people are speechless, they remain silent, as always. Rebellious people continue to incite and try to arouse the anger of the people. Quick. Angry. Just as you killed the tyrant, overthrow the Senate. Yisui listened silently, his expression became serious and indifferent. Yisui withdrew some of his emotions and turned himself into a pure machine. The remaining emotions are all for this live show. And then? Yisui asked back coldly. The sentence and then what truly expresses the voice of the silent people. You vent so much dissatisfaction and criticize so much social darkness. Then what? Justin was stunned for a moment. What then? Are you asking me? Yisui stepped forward, taking the initiative. After I ask you, what do you do after you finish scolding me? What do you want to do? What are you going to do? What can you change? Yisui asked 3 questions in a row, completely mastering the rhythm in his mind. At the same time, Yisui has been using his heart and brain, making his emotions become stubborn and unyielding so that he cannot escape from the problem. Yisui has also been using the listen to everything function, simulating his inner voice in his ears, and has been repeating this sentence over and over again. Yisui felt that he had reached the threshold of a new realm of ability. Justin kept thinking in his mind, and then what? You let him stir up trouble and cause chaos, he's a good hand at that. But what if you let him actually do something? Justin certainly has a lot to say. But he is Justin, he is a chaotic person, he does not believe in the theories of the rebels at all, let alone believe in the words made up by the rebels. And he couldn't talk about the ideas of the chaos faction, so he froze. Yisui would not give Justin time to think, he continued to attack. Make me infamous, and make the so-called old man in the Senate step down. Then what? Then how will you govern the Daxia Alliance? How will you protect the interests of mankind? How will you treat the alien races that are still determined to destroy us? How will you treat the derivative people whose ambitions are gradually rising? Justin finally reacted and tried to change the subject despite Yisui's actions. He opened his mouth and wanted to say, we are going to change before he could finish. Yisui interrupted him, okay. Let's not talk about those items for now, they are still very far away from you. Just ask you. How do you want to overthrow the Senate? Yisui asked another question that seemed unnecessary. This question confused Justin again, and this time he was really confused. Because in Justin's mind, all he wanted was to vote them out. Do you want to take control of the Senate through normal elections? Or do you want to use some violent or less violent means to control the Senate? How audacious! Yisui really never stops talking until he makes something shocking. The Senate is an important material carrier for human beings to rule the Daxia Alliance. The Senate system is the crystallization of thousands of years of political consensus and wisdom. However, the Senate is not an authorized organization of the human union, and the Senate is not a legal organization of the Daxia Alliance. The Senate, after all, is just an organization formed by humans themselves stepping out of the framework and relying on the collection and use of common authority. Then why can't humans overthrow the Senate? In the Senate, countless silent people are limited in their thinking. They have accepted the Senate system for thousands of years. They are used to solving all problems through negotiation, quarrel, compromise and resolution. This is the only thing they have done out of line since they established the Senate during the Fifth Great Crusade. A euro just at the resolution meeting, the tyrant was beaten to death. Yisui took advantage of Justin's confusion and continued. If it were a normal election, we would have held it countless times. Can you beat them? The problem you are criticizing now is not 1 or 2 years old, but thousands of years old. Have the people never realized the problem? The people in the Senate were silent, and the high-ranking elites looked at them unconsciously. I can't help but wonder, do they realize it? A euro we didn't euro trademark tu win once, a euro Justin was courting his own death and began to rant, because those old men are destroying education, seeking personal prestige, and manipulating elections, how could we possibly vote for them? Yisui was keen enough to notice Justin's flaws. His words were too empty and had too wide a scope of impact. Then ask the people if they feel they are being brainwashed and manipulated. Or do you think that the people 10,000 years from now will be just a mob? Never stand against the people, never deny the people. Even if you are right. What's more, you may be caught in a whirlpool and often can't see clearly, but the vast majority of people have sharp eyes. And Justin unfortunately stepped on the minefield. To be honest, Justin's personal qualities are already quite strong, and he also has complete and clear logic. Ever since Yisui absorbed a large amount of spiritual energy dissipated by Volya, the abilities of the heart and brain have also been strengthened, and Yisui also has to explore new ways to play. The people have made their choice, maybe the truth will be in the hands of a few people. Yisui was like a winner, he walked away with a look of disdain on his face, leaving behind a faint remark. But you are such a coward. That's why you lost. Justin was furious and confused, but he kept thinking, should he? Until he saw Yisui leave with such disdain. This was more than just a sneering response to rebellious ideas, which Justin was indifferent to. But there was a deep disdain for Justin personally, especially since Justin felt that he had performed so poorly. Justin wanted to prove that he was not a coward, so he took out the particle beam pistol he had prepared for a long time from his pocket. Justin pointed at Yisui's head. He was looking forward to seeing the fear, repentance and pain on Yisui's face. But in the blink of an eye, it seemed that he saw Yisui's eyes showing a slightly doting look. Just like when I was a kid and still allowed family education, I would use a water gun to shoot my father. Of pampering. And kindness. Let go. Don't make the same mistake again. Secretary Lu shouted in surprise and wanted to rush forward. Yisui shook his head. Yisui's mind captured Justin's emotions. He had no intention to kill, nor did he have any mental preparation to kill a human being. Guns are just tools to overwhelm your opponent. It's okay. Yisui called out to the crowd that was rushing forward to stop the tragedy, he doesn't dare to shoot. Yisui turned around and slowly walked towards Justin. Justin, who was holding the gun, became even more panicked. He doesn't have the guts. Everyone saw Yisui calmly and expressionlessly placing his forehead against the muzzle of the gun. Give me the gun. Just like an adult taking away a child's toy, calmly and normally. Justin's face was covered with sweat and his whole body was shaking. He really didn't put up any resistance as Yisui took away his gun. Then Yisui turned around and walked away, killing another person and leaving a message, "You are such a coward, you can't blame me for taking your job." Chapter 58. The whole room was shocked, Justin was humiliated and looked stunned. Justin's hands immediately began to tremble violently, his body was shaking unconsciously, and white foam began to flow from the corners of his mouth. It was as if he was suffering from a chronic illness, and then he fell to the ground dazed. He was pretending to be sick to avoid being laughed at and socially disgraced. Yisui's mind and brain naturally saw all of this, and it also sensed Justin's emotional changes. It is extreme anger and hatred, immediately suppressed by the heart and brain, and then turns into anger, and then cowardice. At the same time, it amplifies the anxiety, embarrassment, and despair in his emotions. It actually made him lose the courage to resist even more. How to grasp this degree, how to coordinate and listen to everything, and let him feel that this is his own inner thought. Avoiding being discovered is a very important operational issue. Yisui was also just beginning to learn the art, and he realized this during his confrontation with Walaya. Justin the clown thought that his trick of pretending to be crazy was very clever, but he didn't know that Yisui was guiding him behind the scenes. Moreover, if we use dandruff to imagine, humans in 10,000 years will still suffer from sudden epilepsy. All I can say is that Justin is still too academic and has absolutely no ability to adapt to changing circumstances. It's not that pretending to be sick doesn't work, but it's annoying to change to a disease that people in this era would get. We cannot just ignore the example in the textbooks of ancient people who pretended to be sick and survived in times of crisis. Just pretend to have epilepsy. Of course, if Justin was in normal condition, he would not make such a stupid mistake. After all, his IQ gene base is there. But he has too many debuffs now. Another student, Wang Gangzi, had multiple fractures on his body and was nearly torn apart by Mao Dandan's kick. I was lying on the ground, gritting my teeth in pain, but I didn't dare to scream. He understood that everyone was laughing at Justin, the new clown. And they forgot that he, the former clown, naturally couldn't show up again to attract fire from Justin. Yisui felt that he had almost finished showing off. From now on, his stories of showing off should be circulated throughout the interstellar space, inside and outside the Senate of the Pantheon. The cool, confident, calm, and powerful image that Yisui created for himself should be deeply rooted in people's hearts. At this point, Yisui slowly left the scene with Bai Lingyan amidst everyone's astonishment. Often the protagonist's exit is not so smooth, which affects the overall performance of the show. Yisui also felt that someone was eager to try. Yisui is always ready to raise his hand for another slap. The people in the Senate who were watching the live broadcast were also stunned by the scene. They seem to be collectively trapped in some kind of common memory. So that they can't wake up for a long, long time. Even the rebels opened their eyes wide and forgot about propaganda, while the hardliners were stuck here before they had time to do anything. The various committee members who were sitting in the office buildings and watching the situation were also shrouded in silence and dark clouds. Yisui has been waiting and waiting, who will show up? Give Yisui the whole trick. It was so quiet at the time, so quiet that the large box with dozens of people was filled with only the sound of Yisui's footsteps on the floor. Even the sound of breathing is so faint. Until Yisui took Bai Lingyan out of the room. The magnetic imitation wood tintehi material door closed gently, breaking the silence. Only then people dare to breathe deeply, and only then people dare to look at each other in fear. I don't know who it is, whether it is whispering or shouting loudly. In short, now mankind needs someone to break the deadlock and speak out that name. Someone definitely said it. He said, that is a Euro tyrant. Tyrant. Someone started screaming. Then, it was like an explosion, with shouts and clamors one after another. After all the noise and shouting, people are still doubting and arguing with each other. So is it really the tyrant who has returned? Some rational people trembled and said, they just look alike, what nonsense are you talking about? There are also people who are clear-headed who say, that temperament, that manner, that demeanor, is really domineering and powerful, with a sense of control over everything and unparalleled power. It fits our perception and memory of the tyrant so well. He is not really a tyrant. He can never be a tyrant. He can't be a tyrant. Gradually, calmness spread among the crowd, and everyone basically realized that Yisui was not a tyrant, but his behavior and operation just now were a bit too realistic. Restore the tyrant. As for the resurrection of the tyrant in Yisui. Dude, this is not funny. No. This is not funny. Just after Yisui and Bai Lingyan left, Secretary Lu and Mao Dandan finally came to their senses from what had just happened. At this moment, Secretary Lu gritted his teeth, pursed his lips, and ran out in big strides to chase after him. Hey! Mao Dandan saw Secretary Lu chasing out and was about to call him. But he ignored her and ran out. Mao Dandan instinctively followed him, but suddenly stopped. Mao Dandan just stood there, stunned. She couldn't help but look around, and finally looked back. It seemed as if Mao Dandan was looking at her past self who had made the choice just a moment ago. Mao Dandan, at this moment it feels like when I was a child, standing in front of the door of the Senate chamber. After being summoned, Mao Dandan had to go and testify to humans that her father was guilty. But now, Mao Dandan is faced with the same choice again. Finally. After thinking about everything, Mao Dandan did not continue to chase, but stood where she was. After all, Mao Dandan has a position in the military, so she doesn't need to participate in political struggles. What the military needs is neutrality. As long as the military is sufficiently neutral, the political infighting within the Great Xia Alliance will not really affect the foundation of the Great Xia Alliance. And she, Mao Dandan, is the secretary and granddaughter of the Supreme Commander of the Moon Palace Universe Yonggu Fortress. At this moment, Mao Dandan can represent the attitude of the military. She needs to restrain herself. Yi Sui has returned to the residence arranged by Secretary Lu, a very luxurious, elegant and exquisite Jiangnan garden. Waterside singing stage, corridor boat bridge pavilion. A new trend and fashion of human aesthetics. Secretary Lu was holding back his words the whole way, he didn't know how to explain or how to speak. I could only ask, Yi Sui, where have you read history? Yi Sui could already sense Secretary Liu's worry, fear, curiosity and reluctance to speak. But Yi Sui didn't have telepathy after all, so he didn't know what he was thinking exactly. So I've been waiting for Secretary Liu to say it himself. Of course, during the waiting process, Secretary Liu's desire to talk was slightly reduced. Then what I waited for was a sentence that was obviously suggestive. Just finished reading the First Star Crusade. Ah. Too slow. Secretary Liu suddenly said. Then he immediately changed the topic, why don't you go and take a look at the 7th Interstellar Crusade first? The Pantheon, Yuan Piazi's private residence, was another sleepless night for Yuan Piazi. Since that situation and circumstances, he resigned as the chief. Yuan Piazi lived in seclusion and rarely went out. He didn't care about worldly affairs and never met guests. No one knows what Yuan Piazi is thinking. In fact, Yuan Piazi himself was also confused. He is free now. When people are idle, they like to daydream. Yuan Piazi daydreamed too much. Moreover, the scene of Yi Sui was reappearing repeatedly on the projection screen. Yuan Piazi looked deeply at Yi Sui's profile and his cold eyes that lacked emotion. I couldn't help but sigh in my heart, only a pair of eyes like this could be so cold and indifferent, not offering the slightest resistance in the face of death. Finally he made a decision. Chapter 59. After hearing what Secretary Liu said, Yi Sui went back and started reading stories about the 7th Interstellar Crusade. In the year 6107 of the 7th Interstellar Crusade, the tyrant reformed the Senate and became the head of the Senate, presiding over the daily work of the Senate. Who is the tyrant? Why is his name mentioned even in history books, but he is called tyrant instead? What does tyrant mean? A ruler who oversteps his authority. The word tyrant is the same as a euro or pretend a euro, which means supporting the common people to overthrow the powerful class. Thus, he was supported, gained power, became the only and new noble, or even the emperor. That is the tyrant. The so-called usurpation of blood, usurpation of class, usurpation of the constitution, and usurpation of power. Then it tells the story of how the tyrant came from an elite family, abandoned the elitist ideas, and re-engaged in democracy. It tells the story of how a tyrant grows from childhood to adulthood, and how he gradually displays his personal charm and ability. How he gradually moved into the center of political power and finally seized the supreme power of the Senate during the 7th Interstellar Crusade. After this, the tyrant reformed the Senate to enhance the voice and voting power of ordinary people. A euro strongly encourage the development of science and technology and establish the Tushita Palace system. Reform the education system to provide equal educational resources to children of ordinary people and children of elite families. Reform the military system, establish a guard system, and propose the concept of Heavenly Palace and Southern Gate of Heaven. Protect business and production, establish a patrol system. Vigorously promote AI automatic machinery production factories. Reform the 4-class citizen system and add a special class of citizens. A euro reform the local ruling system and establish a 3-level ruling order consisting of star field, galaxy, life planet, and other life units. A euro and expand the 7th interstellar expedition to conquer the 3rd frontier universe. A euro there are many things that the tyrant has achieved during his reign. He is a great ruler with both civil and military achievements. The tyrant is the lord who overthrows the hero. The tyrant himself has a strong style, is very good at making decisions, has outstanding abilities, and especially has a strong leadership charm. He is cold on the outside but warm on the inside when it comes to humans, and is extremely restrained in his emotions. The first impression of everyone who has seen the tyrant is his cold, emotionless eyes. The kind of feeling that is always accompanied by scrutiny and thinking, and always makes the observer feel naked and being dissected by him. But, no matter what, humanity cannot tolerate a dictator, an emperor. Since the end of the 7th Interstellar Crusade, the war authority of the Senate has been greatly reduced, and people have increasingly felt the tyrant's style of having the final say. Not only is the voice of the suppressed elite declining, but the voice of ordinary people is also declining. Even the tyrant has issued direct administrative orders through the Senate. Dissatisfaction is accumulating in people's hearts, and the silent people continue to remain silent. No need to read on, Yi Sui has already heard the rest of the story. During the 9th Interstellar Crusade, the intolerant and angry people beat the tyrant to death in the Forbidden City Parliament Hall, who was one day away from his 1000th birthday. The head of the tyrant was hung on the Senate. Although the Great Crusade is going on at the front line, the tyrant's birthday is approaching, and the Pantheon has gathered 50% of the human race. Note, the White House, the Capitol equals Senate, Washington, D.C. equals Pantheon. After the atrocities were over, the people used a 100% valid vote to pass a substitute resolution to execute the tyrant with 100% of the votes. Act first and report later, one vote is legal. Yisui thought to himself, I have become the second generation of a tyrant. Suddenly Yisui thought of the man with a mustache. At that time, there was a story about a man with a mustache traveling through time and space to the modern era. No wonder everyone is feeling a little weird. Those who are eager to try want to come up and recreate the scene of the 9th Interstellar Crusade. Still I was shocked by the king's domineering aura, I wanted to kneel down and kowtow. Yisui couldn't figure this out for now, but he thought this character was worth pursuing. Since the 12th Interstellar Crusade, humans have become somewhat decadent, having lost their goals and the spirit of struggle. Hedonism is in full swing. The system is rigid and rotten. There is nothing wrong with enjoying ourselves. After all, we are the overlords of the galaxy. If we don't enjoy ourselves, are we going to let those bastards enjoy ourselves for us? But like Wang Gangzi, if something comes too easily, you will lose the heart to protect it. Wang Gangzi was holding on like that. Could Yisui really beat him to death? Could the dozens of humans present really sit back and watch him get beaten to death? If you can't kill him, take a walk around the medical center and continue wandering around. You definitely won't let people think you're trash. Regarding this situation, Yisui only sighed in his heart. Humans have been pampered for too long and lack the Iron Fist education. Unconsciously, Yisui has become accustomed to placing himself in the position of a leader and reformer of mankind. Thinking and logic have been integrated into interstellar age humans. We have also learned to look at things from the perspective of interstellar humans. The characterization of Wang Gangzi's situation has changed from an offense against his enemy to an unfilial descendant of the family. Speaking of Wang Gangzi. Alas! Every family has its own problems. Since then, Yisui has lived in seclusion, trying to remove the tyrant filter from himself. Otherwise, even if some people really appreciate and like this kind of powerful character, they dare not express their support because of the historical burden of tyrant. As the ancestor worship festival approached, Yisui could no longer stay at home reading history. Instead, they followed the ancestor worship department and went to various places to inspect and demonstrate and create an image of talent. So, Yisui and his party came to the Nuwa Temple, the first of the 3 temples and 6 mountains. The Nuwa Temple is built in a deep mountain forest, and every tree here is thousands of years old. The Daxia Alliance has put marks and chips on every tree and every blade of grass. Under humankind, touching grass will result in life imprisonment, while moving trees will result in death penalty. The criminal law is severe and unambiguous. Outside the Nuwa Temple, there is a space transfer station. Yisui put on a heavy space-jumping protective suit. Only Yisui needed to wear this, while others only wore a thin one. Yisui only realized at this moment that after going to the Senate, he could undergo genetic repair in the Temple of the Gods, thus upgrading his genes to the level of modern humans at almost no cost. Then there were Yisui, Secretary Lu, and Bai Ling-Ian, as well as some other colleagues in charge of ancestor worship and a large number of security personnel. About 100 people entered the Nuwa Temple. The Nuwa Temple is very large overall, with the exterior called Nuwa Mausoleum and the interior called Nuwa Palace. After they entered the Nuwa Palace, they first inspected the conditions of various temples. Of course, no one dared to embezzle the maintenance funds of Nuwa Palace, and no one dared to destroy a single brick or tile of Nuwa Palace. But procedures are procedures, and the process still needs to be followed. After the normal patrol, everyone went their separate ways. Bai Ling-Ian still followed Yisui, and brought a few security personnel with her, in addition to the security forces inside the Nuwa Palace. Yisui has the greatest seniority, the highest authority, the highest position among all the people, and also has the responsibility of being the special envoy for the ancestral worship ceremony. Therefore, the main hall built on the mountainside was in charge of Yisui. But when Yisui climbed up to the main hall, he suddenly felt that there were no people in the main hall, and the normal security was not there. Yisui was about to warn him to be careful, when he suddenly felt a pain in his heart, but it wasn't the kind of pain that made him die. It hurts so much that I can't speak. Although Yisui's listen to everything technique, which he used almost at the same time, was not affected, they did not seem to react at all and just stood there in a daze. At this moment, there was the sound of footsteps being stepped on bluestone bricks, and the footsteps seemed to be in sync with the heartbeat. I don't Euro trademark T know if Ida Euro trademark S because his heartbeat is slow or his steps are too fast. In an instant, the person who appeared in front of Yisui at this moment was Yuan Piazi. It had been a long time since Yisui last saw Yuan Piazi. Yuan Piazi is already too old to be real at this moment. Hello. May I ask what is your relationship with the tyrant? Chapter 60. Excuse me, what is your relationship with the tyrant? Yisui said nothing, his heart no longer hurt, and his heart and brain sensed his emotions. His emotions were blank. A blank slate. Yisui was extremely surprised. Ida Euro trademark S not that Yisui Euro trademark S mind and brain are useless, but the person in front of him is definitely not a real person. It is definitely not a puppet or a robot, because they have no emotions. I can't sense anything at all, and all that appears in my mind and brain is a dead object. The Yuan Piazi in front of him can sense emotions, but there is no content in the emotions. Just pure blankness. Without much doubt, Yusui directly suspected that the person in front of him was a dead person, or a person without consciousness, and then manipulated it through the method of a puppet. Why did Yunpaz do this? This is the question Yusui was thinking about. Yusui decided not to answer his question yet. If you want to ask some questions, you should at least come to see me in person. Right now. Yusui's mind and brain were very emotional and caught a murderous and malicious intent on the top of the mountain. Malice that is almost materialized. Even if it is outside the range of Yusui's mind and brain, it can be captured. At that moment, Yusui's heart felt like it was being tightly grasped by a hand. Pain. Pain like death. But before Yusui could show the pain in his expression or body, the pain disappeared instantly, just like the malice. Yunpaz gave up on killing Yusui, and Yusui also truly realized the difference in power at this moment. This is the third pure-blooded human with special abilities that Yusui has seen. Different from Ariel's The World Lost Its Color and Villia's Dream of Destruction. Yunpaz's ability can actually affect reality. Yusui thought quickly in his mind. Is Yunpaz really my enemy? If he wants to kill me like the A girl does, Yunpaz can kill Yusui on his own right here on Sandstorm Planet 1633. As for the restrictions imposed on him by others, Yusui absolutely did not believe that the actual holder of the highest power in the Great Daxia Alliance would not be able to stay undiscovered for even a day. And with his strength, he won't even alarm anyone. It was precisely because he didn't want to kill Yusui that he didn't do it himself. Yusui can only live to the time of identity verification. Yusui also knew clearly that it was because of his direct confession and resignation that humans accepted Yusui without any doubt. Yusui knew clearly that although AI girl Yimeng could rely on the emotional module to bypass some restrictions, but the underlying AI protocol is still restricting AI girl Yimeng, so much so that she needs to use roundabout ways to force Yusui into the courtroom step by step. Only she can sentence Yusui to death. Before this, as long as Yusui still had some suspicion of being a human, the AI girl could not directly attack Yusui. Otherwise, let the poacher explode directly in the outer space of Sandstorm Planet 1633. Would it be difficult for the AI girl? Yusui has experienced a lot during this period of time, and he has figured it out. In this world, the power of an individual is as strong as that of a naval gun. It would be too easy for the unrestrained Yunpaz and Wei Lia to kill Yusui. The reason why he was able to fight them was only because of Yusui's human identity. In their eyes, Yusui is a compatriot, a partner, and a family member, but not an enemy. The Third World War taught mankind a truth: humans will never kill each other. In addition, due to the gap in personal strength. On the one hand, my awakened ability cannot be directly used in combat, and on the other hand, the time I awakened was too short. But Yusui was not discouraged. Aren't humans in this world theoretically able to live for 2,000 years? It only takes me 20 years to catch up with them. It won't even take 2 years. Lita Euro trademark S wait and see. Yunpaz discovered that Yusui was already somewhat discouraged by his own abilities. Suddenly, new hope and passion are rekindled. How interesting. The murderous intent that had just risen in Yunpaz's heart had long since disappeared, replaced by a deep admiration and a sense of relief from exhaustion. The future is promising. Afterwards, the Yunpaz in front of Yusui instantly turned into a pool of blood. Then it evaporated, leaving only 3 blood beads, which were also blown away by a gust of wind. And in the sky, a decadent old man appeared. It was Yunpaz, who slowly descended. He climbed a mountain hundreds of meters high and just jumped down without any technology. Yunpaz bowed and said slowly, Mr. Yusui, I was really rude just now, but this is an emergency, please forgive me for my helpless action. Yusui, you can't beat someone under his roof, and Yunpaz's attitude is quite good. Yusui chose to follow his heart for the time being, ignoring his murderous intent just now and the fact that he almost crushed my heart. Yunpei walked towards the main hall of Nuwa Palace and said, please, I will answer all your questions after you enter. Yusui was very clear in his mind, and he felt that Yunpaz had no murderous intent or malice, and instead had a strong sense of curiosity, appreciation, and relief. As well as fatigue, decadence, pain, entanglement, guilt, and a deeply hidden desire to die. If Yusui was still in Z Mountain or M Star, he would definitely not feel this. Yunpaz invited Yusui to enter the main hall of Nuwa Palace. Yusui turned back and signaled Bai Lingyan what to do. Yunpaz understood instantly and smiled, please rest assured, they will think they are accompanying you to inspect the main hall. After we finish talking, they will wake up. After that, Yusui followed Yunpaz into the main hall of Nuwa Palace. When Yusui truly stepped into Nuwa Palace, the world changed in an instant. The emerald green screen covered the sky and blocked out the sun, with small green dots of light flying everywhere, just like the elves in the Peter Pan movie. It's just that the color is different, and these little dots of light have no life. Then the flowers grow quickly, bloom, and emit a fragrant aroma. Small blades of grass grew rapidly, breaking through the bluestone slabs. A breeze blew through Yusui's hair. Yunpaz looked at the scene with satisfaction and said with a smile, look. Mother is welcoming the lost wanderer back home. Yusui felt a deep warmth and attachment from the bottom of his heart, and it seemed as if his mother's songs were gently singing in his ears. I represent humanity. Yunpaz turned to look at Yusui, stretched out his hand, and said gently, welcome home. Yusui was really stunned. He really didn't expect this to happen. Yusui looked at Yunpaz's hand, and he also stretched out his hand to shake hands. Then Yuan Piazi said with a smile. There is no technology here, no AI or other means of snooping into our conversations. Why did the AI a girl want to kill me? And why did you plead guilty for her? Yi Sui asked the question that had been on his mind. Yuan Piazi took a deep breath, because you are really not her brother, she wanted to kill you. Assuming that you are really an alien with special talents and have passed the identity verification, then she is right. I can't really say for sure. Yi Sui shook his head. Then what's the matter with her two different statements? Yi Sui continued to ask. Yuan Piazi continued to walk into the hall. Of her two sets of stories, the first one is half right, and the second one is just made up. Yi Sui was smart and understood immediately, so, Yi Sui was indeed dead before he was lost. She didn't mistake someone else's death notice for her brother's. That's right. Yuan Piazi nodded. Yi Sui continued to ask, his expression becoming more profound, even if I pass the identity verification, you should still be suspicious. Why don't you suspect that I'm some weird alien who passed identification through special means? Yi Sui couldn't understand this at all, and Yi Sui also knew that identity authentication was not perfect. Your human identity ultimately needs to be recognized by humans. Because Ms. Mo Sushui recognized you. The Mother Star also recognized you. Mother also recognized you. Yuan Piazi cited 3 recognitions in succession. Mother Star and Mother are easy to understand. And Mo Sui, if I remember correctly, is the biological mother of this body. What's going on with Mo Sushui? Yi Sui asked anxiously. Yuan Piazi smiled and said, the emotional module is the uploaded consciousness of your mother Mo Sushui. This news really shocked Yi Sui. This. Yi Sui didn't know how to say it for a moment. Yi Sui's mind and brain sensed that Yuan Piazi's emotions had not changed much, so he must have known this secret all along. What Yi Sui didn't ask was about the mind uploading technology. He had never seen it before, so he wondered if it was allowed. Yuan Piazi then said, using a not very appropriate particle that we still can't distinguish, Ms. Mo Sushui and AI girl Yi Meng share the same body. Therefore, AI girl Yi Meng enjoys some of Ms. Mo Sushui's rights. Yuan Piazi continued to explain. A-Euro-ISO, the AI A-Euro girl trademark S emotions can A-Euro bypass A-Euro trademark the restrictions of the protocol, A-Euro Yi Sui answered quickly. When you were missing, we collected your data from 3 failed experiments on uploading consciousness that your mother conducted in violation of the prohibition during her tenure as the head of the science department. Your mother thought that once your body was destroyed, it would be impossible to upload your consciousness. So your mother lost you. Yuan Piazi replied, consciousness uploading was secretly used for a period of time, but your mother was the only successful product. From then on, consciousness uploading was banned because of human rights issues. Human rights are endowed by nature. We believe that the soul and the flesh are one and the same. If you lack one of them, your rights are incomplete. After that, Ms. Mo Sushui's mental state became worse and worse. Then, about 6,000 years ago, Yi Meng was born. Ms. Mo Sushui has fallen into a deep sleep and wakes up once a year during the ancestor worship period. Yuan Piazi walked into the hall. Yi Sui hurriedly chased in. It's a pity that you won't be able to see her anymore. Yuan Piazi then slowly said, remember, only Ms. Mo Sushui has actually read your memory. According to the rules and tacit understanding, she should report the contents of her memory to us, but she refused. After she told me that there was nothing wrong with your memory, she fell into a deep sleep. As for what she saw, I don't know. Moreover, we have not observed her for a long time, and her condition is not stable enough. So I brought you here. Let mother confirm you again. Yi Sui looked at the Nuwa temple and asked, is the mother referring to Nuwa? Do gods really exist? Yuan Piazi shook his head and said, the spirit does not exist, but our spirit is about to revive her. Chapter 61. Yuan Piazi sat cross-legged on a cushion and continued speaking. There are 3 reasons why I don't let you report the AI A-Euro girl Yi Meng. First, for humans, we are all emotional creatures. The ubiquitous AI girl Yi Meng has been with us for thousands of years. If people realize that such AI can rebel, they will lose confidence in AI and gradually abandon it. Yi Sui was puzzled, wouldn't it be fine if we just strictly controlled the intelligence of AI and prevented it from becoming emotional like the AI A-Euro girl? Yuan Piazi teased Yi Sui for being too naive. The program itself is suspected to have been hacked. Think about the huge AI. It is impossible for us to have perfect AI programs in every place. A-Euro humans don't A-Euro trademark T have that much energy to write programs for billions of ACE. A-Euro we will not allow other artificial humans, derivatives, and alien species to write programs for us. So, all AI programs are copied from the central AI. The result is a vulnerability, which means there are vulnerabilities in every AI. Just like us, because our technological weapons were leaked, they hurt us on the battlefield, so we embarked on conservative scientism. We will also take the path of conservative AI. Yi Sui fell silent, and Yuan Piazi finally let out all the things he had been carrying on his shoulders. Secondly, theoretically, Ms. Mo Sushui's consciousness is also replicated over and over again. And on this basis, another situation has emerged, Ms. Mo Sushui's consciousness is spread throughout the stars. Back to what we said before about Nuwa, Mother Nuwa's revival is one of the highest secrets of mankind. Nuwa's resurrection came after the Third War. The ancestral planet was devastated and there was not even enough food to be found. At this time, the 3 temples and 6 mountains all experienced a special revival. A supernatural phenomenon. We think that we were lucky enough to knock down the dimension, so that the existence of the fourth dimension was projected into the third dimension. Then UNPZ looked at Yisui and read word by word, we call it dimensionality reduction. Subsequent research concluded that Nuwa's revival was an upgrade from the original 3 dimensions to the 4th dimension. Because of the 3 wars, it led to a dimensionality reduction. UNPZ narrated with great interest, so your mother Mo Sushui made a bold guess, humans are ascending to higher dimensions. For this plan, she chose to upload her consciousness and placed her trust in the central control AI, hoping that as AI spreads, her consciousness will spread as well. In this way, quantitative change leads to qualitative change, and we become a 4-dimensional creature. UNPZ paused suddenly, then said seriously, we call it mechanical simulation of emotional personality dimension ascension. So we can't expose the AI a Euro girl, and we can't even lower her authority. Once it's lowered and dispersed, the countless branch consciousnesses will lack an agreement to abide by the central AI master personality. UNPZ warned. AI is more likely to get out of control. Ms. Mo Sushui may also affect the process of dimensional upgrading. For nearly 10,000 years, AI has never rebelled. It is purely because of Mo Sui's consciousness and emotional existence, which can respectively prevent some abnormal programs and fill in the loopholes caused by program contradictions. So having an AI emotional module can better prevent AI rebellion, as long as we keep an eye on the emotional module of the central AI. The atmosphere was silent, and Yisui's mood was complicated. If someone told you that there is an AI that is determined to kill you, and is willing to break the agreement and devour its master, the reason is that she thinks you are not human. How can you say that? Because you took over someone else's brother's body. Yisui felt very aggrieved. He had lived for 20 or 30 years, and yet he was still questioned as a human being. This body? Do you think I want to travel through time? Before I traveled through time, I was poor, single, didn't a Euro trademark T make money, and was despised a Euro cyber a Euro knowledgeable guy was criticized for arguing on the internet. Stay up late to write, no one reads, and if anyone reads, you can earn 2.3 yuan. Damn. I can't a Euro trademark T keep thinking about this. Suddenly thinking about this, Yisui felt that there was nothing wrong with traveling through time. No, I have readers who are all talented and speak well. Then he went through many hardships and finally passed identity verification before the execution. If before, Yisui might have thought that he was not from this time and space anyway, and said that Yisui was not a human, and wanted to kill Yisui, then just kill him. Maybe I can wear it again. However, when Yisui was doing identity verification, he saw that the AI a Euro of the M-Star Court was trying its best to persist and keep appealing. Yisui's desire to survive could no longer be suppressed. Even an inanimate AI is constantly protesting and working hard for its right to life. How can I give up my life like this? Therefore, when faced with spiritual detection, Yisui resolutely chose the optical brain. Even if I could read my own memory. Yisui still firmly believes in himself, whether in terms of memory, spirit, thought, consciousness, or even soul. All belong to mankind, and will always belong to mankind. No matter how you check. Yisui was even prepared to be completely unable to accept the contemporary human beings who traveled through time and were reborn. In their fear and surprise, they were treated as aliens and executed. The premise of all this is that Yisui wants to defend his human rights with everything he has. With the name. Fortunately, Yisui succeeded. Yisui was recognized as a human again. In Yisui's opinion, none of those dazzling titles were as gratifying as that person. Then Yisui wanted to take revenge and destroy that annoying AI girl, but was stopped. Yisui endured it temporarily, after all, there was still a long way to go. Still showing off his talent and gaining fame in Yisui. Prepare to enter the Senate as everyone expects. Then liquidate the AI a Euro girl. As a result, UNPZ, who had always been the riddle teller, stopped riddle telling and gave up on himself. I started to set up the previous life of Yisui to be able to go on the water for hundreds of chapters, and all of them were revealed in 2 chapters. I just left the novice village and faced life directly. Mechanical simulation of emotions and personality dimensions ascend, a Euro-Earth dimensions are different. What a headache. Yisui asked, is this the reason you came here to tell me this? Suddenly UNPZ's expression changed, there is one more thing to confirm whether you are the reincarnation of the tyrant. Yisui was puzzled and asked, are you so afraid of the tyrant? UNPZ nodded, but replied, on the contrary, we are looking forward to his appearance, and expect him to lead mankind out of confusion and difficulties as he did in the past. Yisui observed UNPZ's actions and felt UNPZ's emotions with his heart and brain. Yisui pointed out, but you are still afraid that he will hate your betrayal. We never betrayed him. He was the one who failed us. UNPZ defended his ancestors, but there was a strange light in his eyes. He was the first to betray the Senate's principles of absolute democracy and collective democracy, and the belief that everyone is equal and that human rights are endowed by nature. You betrayed the spiritual principles of mankind, from the human united government to the Senate. Yisui was stunned, and felt UNPZ's mood change drastically in his mind. UNPZ also knew that Yisui could sense his emotions, and knew that his emotions were too obvious just now. Is it really possible to reincarnate? Yisui suddenly asked tremblingly. UNPZ put his hands behind his back and shook his head, I'm not sure, but there have always been rumors that the tyrant will be reincarnated. The Tushita Palace had a plan to simulate his reincarnation. The people in charge of the plan committed suicide collectively after the tyrant's death and admitted that they had committed the crime of betraying humanity. Yisui was shocked. Could the tyrant's reincarnation harm humans? For example, awakening from the blood of future generations? That's too. Yuan Piazi shook his head and explained, it's not an exaggeration. The existing data seems to be a fake paper that is meant to scare people. The scientists in charge are helping the tyrant simulate reincarnation while also preparing for him to usurp the supreme power. So, people later concluded that the tyrant fabricated lies in order to strengthen his power and establish his own religion. Mr. Yisui. Do you have anything else to ask? If it's a tyrant issue, I suggest you ask the Tushita Palace. Yuan Piazi wanted Yisui to be the chief again. Yisui asked curiously, do you really want me to be the chief? Because, knowing the secret means responsibility and price. And Mr. Yisui obviously has a special secret, so he should take on more responsibilities. This is just like Vilya and Ariel. They have the ability, which also means they choose to take on more responsibilities, regardless of whether their direction is right or not. Yisui was shocked. This kind of revealing feeling was so cool. Chapter 62. The junction of the inner universe and the outer universe of the second frontier, the semi-permanent fortress, Gaiman Pass Fortress. The Gaiman Pass Fortress belongs to the Imperial Guard system, but because the notification of the second universe is stable, even pirates and riots in the outer universe are nothing more than scabies. So in fact, Gaiman Fortress has been delivered to the second Border Guard Army system. The meaning of Ghost Gate is the bloody massacre of the Daxia Alliance in retaliation against the outer universe of the second frontier during the Sixth Great Interstellar Crusade. As the saying goes, after leaving the Gate of Hell, there is no other world. CIA Office in Gaimanguin, Office of Lucifer, member of the Special Military Intelligence Committee and Deputy Director of the CIA Colonel. Lucifer has silver-gray-white hair, wearing a white shirt and a black tuxedo, with a bright red bow tied around his neck. Then when I took a closer look, I saw that it was just an 11 or 12-year-old Shota. But the scar on his right face and the red, ferocious, and vicious red pupils add too much evil energy. His temperament doesn't match his appearance at all. Then, just in front of the office, a microbeam projection appeared in the office. The biggest use of microbeam projection is that you can see the content in the projection, but others even at the same angle as you cannot see clearly, and the content they see is even inconsistent. The man was wearing a black combat uniform, carrying two short blades behind his back, and spoke in a male-female voice. Report. The moon-swallowing Tengu base has been completely destroyed. In addition, we have successfully provoked other interstellar pirates to fight for the vacancies caused by the moon-swallowing Tengu's destruction. Lucifer has known about these situations for a long time, but according to his rules, the person in charge must report them to him face to face. The face of the one wearing a black combat uniform cannot be clearly seen, and the gender of the voice cannot be distinguished, but the nervous trembling is well expressed by the microbeam. Lucifer then slowly raised his head. Not enough. Remember what I emphasized, there is no other world beyond the gates of hell. Yes. The man in the black combat uniform half knelt down and answered. At the same time, he drew out his short blade and cut off his 5 fingers to swear. Then just like light dust scattered, it disappeared without a trace. At this moment, a cloud of water mist suddenly formed in the office, and a wet person jumped out of the mist. It was Justin, who was from the Chaos faction on Earth before. He looked embarrassed, breathing violently, and had a ferocious expression. He had just been tortured. But pay attention, there is a little enjoyment in his expression. At this moment, Lucifer has completely changed his appearance, and is no longer the original image of the little shot. Instead, he looked like a young man with black hair, black eyes, no whites of his eyes, and a very wild appearance. You are such a coward. Lucifer stood up and yelled angrily. Justin wanted to defend himself, but he couldn't say anything. You can't shoot at that time, so just punch him. His reaction and physical fitness will definitely make him unable to dodge. Boss, I feel even weirder. I seem to have trouble thinking. Justin still found a way to explain himself. Lucifer chuckled, that's because you are not calm enough. That's why you let him guide your emotions and set you up step by step. Justin always has 1,000 reasons to explain. Lucifer doesn't want to listen to a loser. He interrupted directly, and then said directly and majestically, go down. Remember, I am taking away your title of misfortune. Don't act under our banner when you go out in the future. Fallen angel, no. No. Justin's face suddenly showed a panicked expression. Ida Euro trademark S not that what will happen if he loses his identity as a chaos faction. Instead, Yisui attacked Justin in public and called him a coward. A kind of psychological pain caused by the loss of recognition, value, and individual existence. Justin knows very well that there is absolutely no way to retaliate with his own strength. This is still confirming what Secretary Lu said at the time. The fallen angel, Lucifer, used both kindness and power to increase Justin's submission. When Justin planned this plan, he clearly wanted to take the lead. It's a pity that he messed up. If he could play it well, the situation would be reversed now. Justin became the boss of the Chaos faction, and Lucifer, the fallen angel, was just a little brat who was hung up and beaten by Vilya. Literally, she was hung up and beaten, and Vilya also tried to get Lucifer to join her. Lucifer refused and made a radical speech, and Vilya said that this boy was too extreme. Lucifer is young and energetic, and has also awakened his superpowers, so the two of them have a big fight. Vilya hangs Lucifer up and beats him. Lucifer was furious, so he worked hard and finally established the Chaos faction. Confront the betrayed. Justin. Do you know what to do now? Lucifer sat on the stage. Justin half knelt down, his eyes full of fanaticism. Don't worry, boss, I will definitely find a way to intensify the conflict between the conciliatory and rebellious factions and Yisui. Lucifer nodded and waved him away. Justin wanted to think of something evil again, so he said, Boss. I think we can make use of the rumors between Yisui and the tyrant. To lower Yisui's reputation, or even stigmatize him. When the keywords of Lucifer were triggered, the veins on Hejian's face instantly bulged. Lucifer shouted angrily, Get lost. Justin left with a confused look on his face, until he left Ghost Gate Fortress, and suddenly a look of enlightenment appeared on his face. In Ghost Gate Fortress, in Lucifer's office. Lucifer stood in front of the full-length mirror in a daze, but the person in the mirror was a young version of Lucifer. The young man Lucifer outside the mirror and the young boy Lucifer inside the mirror walked towards the mirror at the same time. Then, ripples appeared on the mirror surface like the surface of water. Both Lucifers entered the mirror, and finally the handsome version of Lucifer walked out of the mirror. His evil eyes looked around. All the AI-enabled devices in the room exploded and were destroyed in an instant. In the midst of the mess, Lucifer stood on top. Lucifer was indignant and angrily yelled and smashed things. He is a tyrant? Then what am I? Lucifer stretched out his index finger, pointed to the distance, then pointed to himself, and was stunned for a long time. How can he be a tyrant? He can never be. It's impossible. Lucifer continued to roar, and then scratched his hair frantically with both hands. He squatted down, holding his head, and seemed to be sobbing. Then Lucifer stood up with red eyes, facing the mirror, or maybe facing himself, or facing mankind, the stars, and the universe. No matter who he's facing. He's always facing something. Only I am. Lucifer was about to shout out, but the name got stuck in his throat, only. The name seemed to burn his lips. Lucifer held it in for a long time before he just said it out loud. Anyway, he's not a tyrant. Chapter 63. In the Third Frontier Universe, in the Bodhi Forest star field, in the Endron giant galaxy. A superluminal non-curvature space jump ship is rapidly shuttling through this dazzling galaxy. Behind him was another warship that was also traveling at superluminal speeds, and it was also constantly making space jumps. Because, the Bodhi Forest Star region announced 3 standard days ago that it would hold an unlimited spaceship Space Leap Master competition in the Endron giant galaxy. The registration address is unknown, the number of participants is unknown, the start time is unknown, and the competition location is unknown. What we can say is that it might happen in the Endron mega galaxy. And inform that if residents or merchant ships encounter a ship with a fast space jump, do not panic and turn around. This is the area where you straight into the game. The one running in front is the betrayer Vilya. Because of her human identity, no level in the interstellar space can stop her. Unless, a Senate resolution is passed to arrest her. But think about it. If the Senate can decide to capture her, will they let her wander around the stars forever? And the one chasing behind is Ariel. Some people say that Brother Ares is fearless, but in fact, Ariel is the real daring one. Vilya's small spaceship is already the highest end on the market in the Alliance. But Ariel was a military-grade battleship that was not popularized and was brought in directly from Tushita Palace. Its speed and endurance are far superior to Vilya's small spaceship. In the end, Ariel blocked Vilya in front of the Stargate of the Endron giant galaxy through the third border of the universe outside. I've heard that there is a talented young man among the new generation. I think it's you. Ariel. Vilya had no way to escape, so she sat in the cockpit of the spacecraft. With the help of a robot, she put on clothes and exoskeleton that could be used for space combat. You are so brave to chase me alone. The mental force vibrated in the space and was transmitted far away to Ariel's mind. Vilya's injuries had not yet healed and she was in poor condition, so she was unwilling to fight again. Otherwise, Wei Lai would have dragged them into the dream of decadence as soon as they approached. Ariel, with the help of the elven maid, also put on his space combat suit. The elven princess Amorialise standing nearby had dark green hair, emerald green eyes, and was wearing the elven tribe's ancestral battle suit woven from the leaves of the Tree of Life. After that, there were 2 supreme elders in the image of old elves. They were originally summoned by the Great Xia Empire to go to the front line of the Sukshuan tribe to participate in the war. But he was intercepted by Ariel on the way and brought here by coaxing and tricking. Although the Senate issued an administrative order for Vilya to return to the Senate and tell the story of Shi Yelu. But this is just an administrative order and not a joint decision, and Wei Lai has always ignored it. Among the 3 people from the elves, except for the elite princess Amorialise who lacked political acumen, the other 2 elves supreme elders learned that they were chasing Vilya. I was so scared that I almost jumped off the ship and ran away. This is not a question of whether or not you can beat Vilya. No, you really want to fight. Although humans are also annoyed with Vilya, they hope she will suffer a setback. However, if you elves or something really dare to touch or bump into Vilya, it is unlikely that humans will be able to directly kill the elves because of their protective nature, but their relatives born from the same branch will not survive. And this is completely reasonable and legal for human beings. This can be explained from the political structure of the Daxia Empire. Because the Daxia Empire is mainly composed of 2 major groups, the Daxia Alliance and the Elves. Because it is an imperial system, there must be an emperor or an empress. The Great Xia Empire has both an emperor and an empress. Among them, the queen of the elf tribe, Narshia, is honored as the empress of the Great Xia Empire. The emperor must be chosen from the Daxia Alliance. Now it seems that it was a conspiracy to deliberately destroy the unity among human beings. Because, as we all know, the Daxia Alliance implements absolute democracy and collective democracy systems. Human only, it is impossible to select someone to be the emperor. The tyrant is still watching. Not even taking turns. Therefore, the Daxia Empire respected all the members of the Senate led by the chief collectively as the emperor of the Daxia Empire. It's indeed a bit shameless, but other races can't do anything about it. The Daxia Empire took its surname from the Daxia Alliance. For this reason, the Great Xia Alliance is still unwilling to give the Queen of the Elf any actual political benefits other than the title of Queen, thus turning her into a virtual monarch. Power was delegated to the Imperial Council of the Great Xia Empire, although it did not have much power to begin with. Therefore, as a subject of the Great Xia Empire, what kind of crime is it to murder 1 in 1.6 billion of the Emperor of the Great Xia Empire? Calculated within the elves, it is equivalent to the elf Clina Euro trademark S Supreme Elder murdering the elf Queen. Bag is a felony. So these two Supreme Elders haven't jumped off the ship yet. It's not that they can't move in space, but that Princess Ariel and Princess Amorielise are still on the battleship. Princess Ariel, do you really want to go? The elf clan elder tried to dissuade her. Another elf clan elder held down this heartless dead girl Amorielise. Your Majesty, please stop taking part in Princess Ariel's family affairs. At this moment, I am still complaining. Do you really think that Her Majesty the Queen is interested in the Empress of the Great Xia Empire? She will pass it on to you sooner or later. Do you really think of yourself as the Crown Prince? Her Majesty the Queen is just a virtual monarch, let alone you. When there was no other choice, Princess Ariel must go out to see Vilaya in person, and even asked the two Supreme Elders to take action to prevent Varia from escaping. These two Supreme Elders were horrified. How dare you? Ariel stepped on a green bridge transformed by Amo Lilith's spiritual power. In front of Varia, a swing hanging somewhere appeared. Varia got on the swing, and as soon as the swing swung, she was about to fly over. Junior Ariel has met the senior. Ariel saluted Vilya. Varia looked at Ariel with a puzzled look on her face, always ready to use Falling Dream to drag Ariel into the dream. Ariel's Heaven and Earth Eclipse is also ready in his eyes. If something unexpected happens, this attack of Heaven and Earth Eclipse will definitely be able to trap Vilya. Waylaya asked, why are you chasing me? Ariel, still elegant and calm, explained, I heard that Senior Vilya has an organization of betrayers. Waylaya was confused, so what? Did those old men ask you to come and bring me back? Ariel shook his head and said in a voice as cold as a bell, I want to join your betrayers. Vilya was shocked. She really didn't react. What are you talking about? This is the much anticipated Princess Ariel of the Great Xia Alliance in the future. This is the future super political star of the Senate. Before Yisui came to this world, everyone was predicting that she would become the chief of the Senate when she was 300 years old. Before the Omis incident, Ariel's coming-of-age ceremony became an important ceremony that all humans wanted to attend. The Huero sect put huge expectations on her, and the foreign races under the rule of the Great Xia Empire and the Great Xia Alliance put everything on her. There are too many people standing behind Ariel and too many interests gathered together. Now, Varia heard with her own ears that Ariel wanted to change the family and come to me, the destitute betrayer. This means that you, a small and micro enterprise that is barely surviving on subsidies, suddenly have the star CEO of the world's second largest company by market value coming to you with capital. Vilya would never dare to have such a dream. Chapter 64. The junction between the hinterland of the Daxia Alliance and the inner universe of the First Frontier. Because there is no border wall between the Daxia Alliance and the First Border, no garrison is set up, and it is usually maintained by patrolling and stabilizing troops. There is a mining planet with a thin atmosphere and a dense cluster of unmanned mining factories. A special operations force from the major crime team of the Alliance Investigation Bureau, combined with the 3 departments of the bad guys, the CIA and the Jinyaiwei, as well as 16 patrol fleets and 3 patrol fleets in the surrounding area. Surrounding this planet, not to mention flies, the Daxia Alliance even created an organism annihilation isolation zone in the outer space of this planet. I'm just afraid that Andre, the League's deadly felon, has special abilities like blood resurrection, single-cell rebirth. He still had to use the consciousness mirror to scan the mineral star to confirm that Andre was the only living being that moved with consciousness. In addition, in order to curb the demon racial talent transplanted into Andre, or other racial talents, directly set up hundreds of space structure machines in all directions. As for why he was allowed to live for so long before being captured, it was because the order from above was that he must be captured alive. It is also necessary to have arms and legs, so in order to build an encirclement, it has not been captured. As for the purpose of arresting him alive, I would like to ask Yisui if he has any special punishment suggestions. Yisui answered no and was taken to the largest interstellar city in the universe, Qingming Hitongtian in the Third Frontier. In the Third Border, the most prosperous center of Hitong's world, in front of the entire inner and outer universe of the Third Border, the Great Xia Alliance rules the interstellar world, in front of all alien races. Decapitated by 1,000 cuts. Executed to death by Lingqi. The Senate asked for approval so that Yisui could feel close, familiar, respected and enthusiastic. The Senate read through ancient books and decided to do as the Romans do. Find out about the most severe punishment for criminals about 10,000 years ago, Lingqi. The executioners were required to shave 1,306 knives on every piece of Andre's body. Moreover, it is required that the pain-sensing nerve cannot be cut, and he must be allowed to feel pain all the time. Also, the key thing is, the above does not say how big a piece of meat is, it all depends on the subjective initiative of the people below. If eat a euro trademark S too small, it doesn't a euro trademark T look good. If eat a euro trademark S too big, it doesn't a euro trademark T look good either. This inefficient criminal law can give the law enforcement officers of the Daxia Alliance a huge headache. As soon as the superiors thought about it, they had to ask their grandparents to go to the warehouse of Tushita Palace to find technological tools that could be used on it. It is not difficult to cut a piece of meat with 1306 knives, but it is really impossible for someone to cut it slowly with a microphoton particle knife. But not hurting the pain nerve does not mean not cutting the pain nerve. And Andre was in pain the whole time, crying like a ghost and howling like a wolf. If the pain nerve is cut off, there will be no sensation in this area. If the pain nerve is not touched, you will not feel the pain. Eat a euro trademark S really a problem blocked at both ends. Theta euro trademark SYIA euro trademark I'm going to look through those tools that are hidden, restricted and tabooed by Tushita Palace. For example, simulation continues with neural nanorobots. This was originally used to rehabilitate the disabled, but was later hidden in the snow. The reason is that humans have not had a disabled person for 6,000 years, and there has been no disability due to injury or illness for 1,000 years. This kind of technology is not available to humans. Finally, the alien species must be used. The hardliners, Lucifer and others have worked hard for so many years to systematically and plannedly reduce the number and combat power of the alien population. Once this technology becomes popular, half of their hard work will be wasted. Andre has been escaping to this mining planet. This is already a situation where he has extraordinary abilities and excellent luck. Andre could tell from their actions that they had received an order to torture Andre to scare the monkeys. Andre tried to commit suicide several times, but failed every time. Until the end he lost the courage to commit suicide. They also completely defeated Andre the interstellar gangsters unruly. This will allow the gods and Yisui above to see a desolate, miserable face full of pain and regret when they report their mission. This is how work should be done. If you don't a euro trademark T have two brushes and can a euro trademark T figure out your intentions, even if you catch Andre immediately, will it be useful? Otherwise, His Highness Yisui would see that even if his enemy was caught, he would still be unruly, without any regrets, without fear and even with a provocative expression on his face. Can His Highness Yisui be happy? Can he have the joy of having his great revenge avenged? His Highness Yisui is not happy. The Alliance Investigation Bureau seriously neglected its duty in the AMU Star incident. I can't reach you through communication. Don't you have long legs? Even if you crawl, you still have to crawl to the Senate for me. Why didn't you receive the order? Why are you afraid of the big boss's plan inside? Is this your duty? Therefore, the Alliance Investigation Bureau and many other colleagues and departments are working hard to get things done beautifully. No one dares to hold back. Go. Go. The Special Operations Team completed their infiltration and began to launch a general attack on Andre. First, 2 mental interference bombs and space concussion bombs quickly attacked the room. This is a mental interference bomb specially designed for Andre, and it is absolutely guaranteed to be foolproof. In addition, the full power output of the space structure machine gradually compressed Andre's activity space. There are also space chains that are activated with high intensity. Magnetized full-screen bullets are generated, which can be fired by a single player on a battleship in space. The magnetized full-screen bullet was deployed, and all the mechanical equipment on Andre's body were short-circuited, and the implanted auxiliary combat chip and prosthetic eye were directly paralyzed. Then the fast micro-quantum light network only flashed and caught Andre. 5 days to prepare, 5 minutes to capture. In perfect condition, not a piece of meat missing. Before Andre is chopped into pieces, the Alliance Investigation Bureau will never let Andre lose even a piece of meat or fat. Then take a picture of Andre's miserable, regretful and miserable face, submit it to the leader, and complete the task. After the tragic and painful day, Wang Gangzi was helped back home. Today, no matter how many times Wang Gangzi called, no one responded. I clumsily put on my clothes and went out to find that the mansion was empty. Wang Gangzi felt something was wrong, but it was too late. All I saw was a middle-aged, frustrated uncle who looked sloppy, unemployed, with his wife dead and both his parents gone. He looks sloppy, but if you look closely, you will find that he is actually very handsome. It's just that life has bent his knees and made him look like this. Dad. Wang Gangzi called out tremblingly. The middle-aged uncle in front of him was Wang Gangzi's father, the secretary of UNPZ, the former chief of the Senate, Wang Yun. Wang Yun's original name was Wang Meng, and his name was inspired by Wang Meng, an ancient minister in the East. In his early years, he was also a romantic, handsome and charming young man. With outstanding talents, he became the 7th secretary of UNPZ at a young age. At that time, Wang Meng was only about 300 years old. It was more than 300 years ago that UNPZ made a comeback and was elected the chief. Dad. Wang Gangzi's voice trembled even more, and his whole body became weak. Dad, Dad. Calls one after another try to awaken fatherly love. Wang Yun's hand, which was raised high, really began to shake. Wang Yun seemed to reappear in front of his eyes his late wife, lying weak and exhausted on the hospital bed, holding the baby with a happy yet sad smile. Wang Gangzi found that the tried and tested family card was effective. She even continued to call out, Mom. Your son is being bullied. A stupid and spoiled kid thought that his father was here and could help him out. But the word Mom made Wang Yun, who had already been unable to do it, grit his teeth and slap her. Wang Gangzi was blown away, spinning dozens of times in the air, and all his white teeth were broken. With blood in his mouth and tears streaming down his face, his expression was full of grievance and ferocity. He cried incoherently, "You only know how to hit me. My mother is here, do you still dare to hit me?" Wang Gangzi lay on the lawn with a look of resentment on his face. He wiped his snot on the dirt and continued to look at Wang Yun with grievance. Wang Yun closed her eyes, tears welling up in her eyes. The image of a beautiful girl kept reappearing in her vision. She was lovely and lively. She would run barefoot on the lawn, holding her furry puppy stuffed animal. Then he clumsily got himself covered in mud and also made the puppy doll dirty. Finally, looking at Wang Yun pitifully. Wang Yun couldn't help but smile when he thought of this, but his smile froze immediately. That scene has been engraved in Wang Yun's mind over and over again for 200 years, becoming more and more deeply engraved. She was weak and tired. On a warm afternoon, the sun shone through the half-drawn flowered curtains. The shadows fell on her pale face lying on the bed. The remaining light all shone on Wang Gang, who was only 7 or 8 years old. He sat on the edge of the bed, his head resting in his mother's arms, and fell asleep peacefully. She looked at Wang Yun, whose face she couldn't see clearly in the shadows opposite her. She still had that bright and innocent smile, and she said with a smile, "I may not be able to wait until the child grows up, I beg you, you must take good care of him for me." "Good. Take good care of him." Wang Yun couldn't remember what he said when he was still Wang Ming. It's just that she said, "My greatest luck is meeting you and falling in love with you, and the thing I regret least is giving birth to him." "But I regret it." Wang Yun couldn't get over this memory. Wang Yun glared at Wang Gangzi with regret on his face, feeling very disappointed with his friend. "Your mother has a genetic disease. She gave birth to you without telling me." Wang Yun shook his head and walked forward with tears in his eyes. "Your mother gave you the best genes." Wang Yun almost spoke out at the top of his lungs, "Is this how you are going to waste the genes your mother gave you?" Wang Yun continued talking as he walked forward, while Wang Gangzi crawled backward in fear. "Your mother doesn't want to live in Tushita Palace with tubes inserted in her body. Your mother said that 100 years of life is enough for a human being. It was that afternoon before your mother passed away, that sunny afternoon, the afternoon when you fell asleep in her arms." Wang Yun's eyes were full of memories. His tone was gentle, but his expression became more ferocious and tears were streaming down his face. Wang Gangzi didn't run away at this moment. He just stood there in a daze, quietly, and silently lowered his head. "Your mother begged me." Wang Yun pursed his lips, sniffed his nose, and said in a sad tone, "She begged me. Let me take good care of you." Wang Yun said this in almost the most painful tone. There was even a hint of self-mockery in his tone. "The two things I regret most in my life are, first, not stopping your mother from giving birth to you, second, not taking good care of you, and educating you well. So much so that you caused a huge disaster." Wang Yun had already approached Wang Gangzi, with his raised hand hanging in the air. Wang Gangzi looked up at Wang Yun blankly. "I feel so ashamed of your mother." Wang Yun didn't slap Wang Gangzi, but slapped himself hard. Wang Gangzi was stunned and looked at this scene in surprise. On August 17, 11,817 in the Daxia era, in the Pantheon, Wang Menga Euro trademark S, Wang Yun, deceased wife Kui Anna Euro trademark N, a patient with congenital genetic evolution defect accidental syndrome, terminal illness. Before she died, she left a letter for her lover and son. Ms. Kui Anna signed her letter to her husband Wang Meng. "Wang Yun, the luckiest thing in my life is meeting you and falling in love with you, the thing I regret least is giving birth to our child for you." Chapter 65. The anti-leakage effect of the rising green barrier in the main hall of Nuwa Palace can be fully trusted. Yuan Piazi poured out a lot of humanity's most secret secrets here. Lita Euro trademark S go back to Ariella Euro trademark S Villia Euro trademark S special abilities. Yuan Piazi's answer was, "Someone will come to you and tell you these things in a few days. I might as well just blurt it out right now." A long time ago, during the Third Great Interstellar Crusade, the scientific school took the lead in establishing the Dimension Upgrading Plan and the God Creation Plan. Its purpose is to train powerful people to make up for the shortcomings of human individual combat power. Yisui didn't feel too much about the power of people with special abilities, and felt that their abilities had little impact on material existence. Yisui continued to ask, "Why? Their abilities are all spiritual in nature, and have little impact on material existence." Yuan Piazi explained, "This is about psychic power. At the beginning, after our ability users used the upgraded fragments or various methods, the destructive power of their awakened abilities was not as great as we expected. And its ability is extremely strange, and its effect on humans is extremely powerful. So in order to avoid causing panic among the public, it was called a secret plan. But I think everyone actually knows, and they are just pretending to be confused. Because the dimensional upgrade plan can be popularized, and the direct result of the God-making plan is that there is a racial difference between the chosen ones and ordinary humans. In addition, due to the imperfection of the dimensional upgrade plan, the consciousness of the ability users will gradually become radical. They may even become the masters of the show." Yisui heard this and felt that this setting was somewhat similar. Yuan Piazi sighed and continued, "This is why there are endless internal conflicts and political struggles in the Senate. As representatives of power and elite, they are becoming more and more extreme due to the influence of ability. And the people around them will also be led by them to extremes. I think your thoughts and thinking are neither radical nor soft, but extremely normal, so normal that they are almost the same as ordinary people. You can recognize your position, face up to the love between the derivatives, and face up to the sacrifices and contributions of the aliens for you. Neither feel guilty nor completely abandon it, but reward it. As the chief, it is most important to understand the distribution of benefits. We must ensure the absolute dominance of humans, while also allowing artificial humans and derivative humans to continue to surround and worship us. It can also make the foreign races feel our reward and prevent them from rebelling. Then UNPZ looked deeply in the direction of the Senate with a low voice. Some people only know how to kill, some people only know how to cede our interests in exchange for their verbal submission. None of this is acceptable. So I'm particularly optimistic about you. You're more confident than Ariel, who loves to use some tricks too much. UNPZ spoke slowly, but suddenly mentioned Ariel, slapped his forehead, and said in regret, "Oops. I forgot that Ariel is not yet an adult. I shouldn't reveal her secret." UNPZ finished answering. The amount of information revealed in UNPZ's words is still too huge. After talking for a long time, Yisui finally got back to the point. You have been trying to get me to give up on pursuing the AI girl. First you told me about Mo Sushui's consciousness uploading and the mechanical simulation of emotional personality dimension ascension plan, then there is the dimension plan and the god-making plan. Finally, are you still pushing me to become the chief? I respect your responsibility as a leader, but I don't understand why you do this. You didn't say anything about how to deal with the AI girl. This is just the established result of your elites deceiving and concealing the silent people. It does not mean that the general public will accept AI girls. UNPZ was stunned for a long time, looking at the blue sky, feeling relieved in his heart. What if, in fact, everyone is used to and accepts her? How many people know about this AI girl Yi Ming? Yisui was surprised. UNPZ narrowed his eyes. This is really hard to say. Then UNPZ returned to the state of a decadent old man and replied, I don't know the exact number, it may be tens of thousands, and even everyone in the Senate knows it. Then his tone changed slightly, maybe there are only a handful of people, only a handful. Just like I said when I first met you, maybe some of them know it, and they are just pretending to be confused and not talking about it. After all, it's rare for anyone to be confused. Yisui quickly recalled the scene at that time, suddenly thought of something, and asked, does Ariel know? UNPZ's appreciation was even stronger. She is a very smart girl. She discovered it last year. It was also here that she wanted to meet Ms. Mo Sushui, but she was rejected by Ms. Mo Sushui. What about Vilya? When UNPZ heard the name, his face suddenly fell, and he hesitated. Her. She should probably know that she is a relatively simple and lovely girl. Well, I guess she doesn't know. If her disguise is too deep, I'll think I've made a mistake. Where's Secretary Lu? Yisui asked the people around him again. I don't know, Lu Yida is a hedonist. Yisui couldn't believe it and suddenly shouted, ah. Why can't you believe it? UNPZ joked, hedonist, do you think you are just pursuing desires and enjoying life? Yisui could feel UNPZ's special emotional changes in his heart and mind. If this explanation is not satisfactory to you, please allow me to die as an apology. Why is this so? Although Yisui was a little dissatisfied with the AI girl issue, he still admired UNPZ. Yisui could understand his explanation. However, there are still many problems, which deliberately avoid talking about, making Yisui very angry. However, there is no need to be so extreme. At this moment, Yisui realized that the deep hidden will to die quickly expanded and filled his emotions. The chief has the responsibility to restrict the AI emotional module. UNPZ said to take the responsibility on himself. Because, my initial indulgence and acquiescence caused the AI emotional module of the Daxia Alliance AI Center to seriously endanger human beings, Yisui's right to life and other rights. As the main responsibility, I should bear all the responsibility, in other words, if I strictly fulfill my restriction responsibilities, the AI emotional module trademark will not be able to commit illegal acts at all, according to the principles of scientific and technological neutrality and immunity. Technical crises caused by mistakes of users or responsible persons should be exempted from liability for technology. Yunpei read out his orders word for word. After the will to die in his heart was completely filled, he felt suddenly relaxed. There is a sense of atonement. As if he has shouldered the sin and escaped punishment for 1,000 years. UNPZ continued, the user or the responsible person should be held accountable. Therefore, former Chief UNPZ committed the crime of harming humanity and betraying humanity. He should be sentenced to death by hanging. In view of the fact that UNPZ is affiliated with the Shengui Project and the God Creation Project. Therefore, Yunpei is allowed to die on the interstellar battlefield in order to atone for his sins. Chapter 66. Yisui tried to dissuade UNPZ for a long time, but that stubborn old man was determined to commit suicide. There's no way to stop it. If it weren't for his heart and brain, Yisui would have really thought that UNPZ's suicide was caused by himself. This is a method of moral kidnapping. Will it make me give up reporting the AI girl and let me bear the sense of responsibility of the alliance? Perhaps he noticed Yisui's gloomy expression and the dark clouds on his brow. UNPZ smiled and said to Yisui, don't have so much psychological pressure. If you think we condone the existence of AI Yimeng, we are wrong. Then he turned back to the Nuwa statue and said, after you become the chief, you can open the Palace of Wisdom and see the secret for yourself. Then decide whether to destroy the AI. At that moment, Yisui's curiosity was completely aroused, and he was a little resistant to the sense of responsibility that UNPZ imposed on him. However, Yisui, the #1 nitpicker on Earth, insisted on proving that humans are on the wrong path in AI. AI is a tool, and should not be something that humans rely on for survival. We must not put the cart before the horse and lose the big picture for the small. Bai Ling-ian, who was standing outside the door, had been subconsciously accompanying Yisui to visit the Nuwa temple. Yisui is very gentle, considerate, and kind. Bai Ling-ian was very happy, but as time passed, she suddenly realized that something was wrong. Don't ask her what's wrong, she doesn't know herself. Maybe it's too friendly. Maybe Yisui really likes her, maybe he is also kind and considerate in life. But something is not right. This feeling of something being wrong suddenly reminded Bai Ling-ian of Shi Yelu. Although I can't believe it, Bai Ling-ian's feeling is becoming more and more obvious. At this moment, Yuan Piazi, who was talking, suddenly felt something. Yisui's mind and brain also discovered that Bai Ling-ian had special emotional fluctuations. Yuan Piazi had a playful expression on his face. Interesting. The white-haired girl is about to wake up. Let's stop here today. I am Wang Yun, and I would like to see Deputy Yisui. After all, he is his own son. Wang Yun cannot sit back and ignore his child no matter what. As a last resort, he had to ask to see Yisui in person. Wang Yun felt that he still had some weight. Although I have been decadent these years, and my former glory is gone, I am definitely not an unknown person. But the ability and charm displayed by Yisui is so amazing that one could hardly say that Yisui is the reincarnation of a tyrant. And Yisui's image of repaying kindness with kindness and repaying grievances with grievances has spread throughout the pantheon. As the saying goes, if you love your son deeply, you will have far-reaching plans. Now, his son Wang Gangzi is under the eyes of the humans in the Senate, no one touches him, even Yisui has to follow the rules. He attacked you first, and you beat him up, which is considered legitimate defense. If the Senate and the mediator followed their style, it would definitely be considered a mutual fight. Both sides scolded each other and the matter was resolved. Rebuking Yisui, you know that Wang Gangzi has a defective gene and a problem with his brain, why are you fussing with a fool? Rebuking Wang Gangzi, they provoked you to start a fight, and you really went. And you couldn't beat them, so you didn't know how to run away. Then, it is still a human utopia of you are good and I am good. The gentlemen in the Senate may imagine themselves as the elders of the family, actively mediating and promoting harmony and unity in the big family. Look. How conscientious I am in my duties. But in Wang Yun's opinion, all these are completely useless. For things that they really don't care about, there is no need for the Senate to make any judgment, and people will forgive each other. If he can't let go of something, trying to smooth things over will only arouse his rebellious spirit and make him more hateful. What should Wang Gangzi do if Yisui really holds a grudge against him? This is why Wang Yun rushed here in a hurry. Wang Yun thought. In the future, Wang Gang will be played to death by Yisui. Wang Yun still has a full understanding of his son. He was in that state, and someone beat him to death, and he didn't even know what happened before he died. Yisui returned to his residence through the back door without opening his mind. It was not until they walked into the door that Secretary Lu told Yisui, Wang Yun wants to see you. Yisui was very curious. He asked in surprise, who is Wang Yun? Wang Gangzi's father. Secretary Liu's eyes became meaningful, former Chief Yuan Piazi's former secretary. Yisui naturally wouldn't think that the younger one was here to beat the older one, because Secretary Liu used the words asking for a meeting. Yisui guessed that it was to apologize and avenge his grudges, and he had already started thinking about what to order. Let him in. Yisui has been in the interstellar space for so long that he has no worries about food, clothing, and shelter. He doesn't value anything rare or precious at all. Oh, right, control of the army. As long as we have an army, we can have whatever we want, right? Yisui's thoughts were off. What he was thinking about now was how to ask for some benefits from him. After a while, Secretary Lu brought Wang Yun in. Yisui opened his mind and found that Wang Yun was not afraid at all, but was calm, with only a little curiosity and deep sadness. Wang Yun looked at Yisui and fell to his knees. My son is a stubborn boy, with a rare genetic disease. I have failed to teach him well, so I am here to apologize on his behalf. Please, second master, please show some mercy and let him go. Yisui had no intention of helping him, even though he was already in such a humble position. But Yisui didn't ask him to kowtow and apologize, he knelt on his own. What if people like this tune? Mr. Wang really dotes on his son. Yisui said to him in a negative tone. When you come to someone's house to apologize, don't you bring the victim with you. Wang Yun was suddenly stunned, and then he understood what Yisui meant. The rebellious son was disobedient, and I have sent him far away. Wang promises that the rebellious son will never appear in front of the second seat again. Mr. Wang. Yisui still didn't stand up. Your son is really scary. Although he didn't do anything to me, he scared my woman. After all, the bodhisattva always takes a nap, and there will always be someone around me who is not paying attention. Wang Yun was surprised when he heard this. He had never heard of this proverb, but he could understand its meaning. Please rest assured, Deputy Prime Minister. I will personally take him to the Senate to block some of his rights. Wang Yun immediately replied that kneeling for such a long time already felt a bit weird. Make sure he never harasses Mr. Yisui again. Yisui yawned, his face showing some impatience, and he also realized that Wang Yun's calmness had worn away. But Mr. Wang, your son is really capable. He is so big, but he can hit people and knock them down at will. I was really scared. Yisui's expression began to ponder, I always dream of him rushing towards me at night, but you can just let it go with a word like that. Wang Yun has apologized countless times on behalf of his son over the years, and has never encountered such a thing. In the interstellar age, the Great Xia Alliance, humans are supreme. Everyone has everything they need, and the Senate is particularly fond of humans. It is almost omnipotent in the universe. When everyone's material conditions are met, they all like to pursue the spiritual world. Each has its own needs and each has its own personality. Wang Yun thought Yi Sui had a strong tendency to enter politics, so he bowed down to him. Yi Sui should ask himself some questions about the Senate and try to win over the people and supporters of the faction he represents. In this way, they transformed it into their own political power. And Yi Sui didn't even mention it. From what he said just now, he wanted to ask for mental damage compensation. Give money? Give precious treasures? It might be useful to deal with the hedonists and some ordinary silent people. But what is your status and reputation? What do you lack? Wang Yun absolutely believed that Yi Sui would care about these mundane things and must want something special. Wang Yun thought of Yi Sui's special abilities again, and thought that only things in this area could meet Yi Sui's needs. That's right, if you don't use that thing yourself and keep it in your hands for 200 or 300 years, it's such a waste. Wang Yun then suddenly felt enlightened and understood everything. Yi Sui thought Wang Yun finally understood, and was still wondering what rare interstellar treasures he would take out from his collection. Wang Yun said, Second Master Yi Sui, I didn't use the fragments of my upgraded dimension back then, and now I have no intention of doing this. If Second Master Yi Sui doesn't give up, I can give it to you as an apology. When Yi Sui heard this, he sat up straight. Upgrading dimension was the key word that remained in Yi Sui's mind. This thing is related to the dimension upgrading plan mentioned by Yuan Piazi, and it can help people become capable people. Improving his own strength is also something Yi Sui urgently needs. Yi Sui suddenly stood up happily and helped Wang Yun up with a sincere smile. I heard that Xiao Gang has a genetic disease. I am very worried. I wonder what this is. Yi Sui took the initiative to offer the step to step down, and the atmosphere between the two of them was extremely harmonious. Chapter 67. In the Third Frontier Universe, in the Bodhi Forest star field, in the Endron Giant Galaxy. Before the Stargate. No one knew what Ariel and Velia talked about. Velia was originally happy about Ariel's idea of a joining the traders. The smile disappeared instantly. No, Welia screamed in horror, you are too extreme. You are more extreme than Yi Sui. Princess Ariel's mental power affected the free spiritual energy, isolating their communication. There is no air in space, and the spirit pulls spiritual energy, affecting radio wave exchanges. Although the two elf elders were very curious about what they talked about, they did not dare to break through the barrier. Moreover, the barrier was transparent, and they could see clearly with their naked eyes whether Princess Ariel was safe or not, so there was absolutely no reason to break the barrier. I don't know what they talked about. Suddenly, Ariel's eyes lost all life, and her long pink hair fluttered like flowing water. The starry galaxy is centered on Ariel, and all the colors are extracted from wherever you look. The world lost its color. It is a horror that makes people feel deep in their souls. The invisible hand strips away all the colors here. The starlight was like a stream, gathering in Ariel's eyes and being absorbed by those empty, dead eyes. However, Velia in front of Ariel was in a bad condition. She was only using her mental power to fill the surrounding colors so as not to be affected. Welia thought to herself, oh no, using the godlike state that instantly dims the heavens and the earth to offset my dream of sinking, it's really amazing. The moral principles of the heavenly way, the division of heaven and earth, the unity of black and white. Her long pink hair fluttered in the windless starry sky, and Ariel muttered something. Anyone who betrays the Tao is the beginning of the nameless heaven and earth. The sky and the earth lost their color, and the black and white items then impacted Welia's dream of sinking. Welia didn't want to delay with her, so she sat down on the swing, which quickly grew red roses, bright and tempting. The thorns of the rose seemed to pierce through the delicate palm of Velia holding the rope of the swing, and blood dripped from the thorns. In an instant, the fallen ones retaliated and the world lost its color. Countless bright roses grew out of nowhere. Then, the bright red color on most of the rose petals was instantly taken away, just like the wind blowing and the flowers fluttering, the color disappeared. But there are still endless roses growing. Right in the starry sky, there is no land, no air, no nutrients, nothing. The roses are growing more and more, but I never see the roots growing there. It seems that the roots are not in this dimension. Finally, bright red roses covered the entire colorless space, and the black and white energy was almost squeezed out by the bright red color. In the sky, in an unknown space, in an unknown direction, I have no idea where and how many roses grew. All you can see are bright red roses all over the mountains and fields, with petals flouncing and blooming wantonly, making you indulge in it. Then there was a thorn on each rose branch, on which was a drop of dark red blood. Where did this drop of dark red blood fall? Ariel made a mistake and felt as if he was being drowned in a blood-red ocean. The whirlpool of blood tore Ariel's body apart. Pain. Ariel's lost delicate face has reached the point where she is frowning because of the pain. Ariel's consciousness forced itself out of the dream of decadence. The beautiful, fluffy, flying pink hair was cut into pieces. But what is surprising is that even though the hair is broken, it is still fluttering in pieces. Then the dream was broken, and Ariel opened her bright and beautiful eyes. The sky and earth lost their color and the sound disappeared. The colorful and intoxicating roses in the starry sky, petals flying all over the sky in an instant. Vilya took the opportunity to return to the spaceship and continue her escape. Ariel closed his eyes, and a bead popped out of the storage pocket of his combat suit, a space storage bead. The space storage bead turned into a black hole, and a special gun as long as a person appeared. Then, quickly insert 4 red superstar condensed energy cores into the gun slots. Then the gun extracts energy, and while suspended in the air, a powerful beam of energy, a world-destroying super-focused beam, is fired out. The target was directly aimed at Vilya's spaceship, and Vilya was not prepared for the moment. In a hurry, the spiritual energy drawn by mental power had no time to solidify and could not block this attack at all. They could only watch the spacecraft being destroyed while the remaining super-focused beam continued along its predetermined route, destroying everything in its orbit. I have no idea how many galaxies I'll destroy. All I know is endless destruction. You have no moral principles. We agreed to compete with each other, but why are you pulling out your weapons? Hehe, A per thousand, A with tilde, sir, times have changed. The more this happened, the more Vilya didn't want to get entangled with Ariel. I was afraid that Ariel would call for help, and Vilya herself was in a bad state and was about to be surrounded. She might really be captured. Helplessly, Vilya could only endure the fatigue and use her mental strength to attract spiritual energy, allowing herself to fly quickly in the universe and rush straight to the Stargate. Ariel jumped back to the battleship, which was ready at all times, with its engines at full attack speed, chasing at full speed. In order to escape, Vilya used her mental power to draw psychic energy to create a weak light ring line. Flying in it would allow Vilya to escape at a speed that briefly exceeded the speed of light. Vilya believes that she can only get rid of Ariel by crossing the Stargate and hiding in the third outer universe. Or he could go back and shoot down Ariel's warship himself. Princess Ariel? This. The elite tribe's supreme elder felt his head explode. Princess Ariel not only has some abilities, but she also has to take a few moves from Vilya. Even though Vilya didn't want to hurt her at all. Only those who have fought with Vilya know how difficult her dream of sinking is. Dreams are endless and it is hard to tell whether they are real or fake. If you are not careful, you will never be able to distinguish between reality and dreams. But this person is a betrayer, the most pure pacifist. Ariel turned around, tilted his head slightly, squinted his eyes, and put his index finger in front of his lips. A kind and beautiful smile, hehe, this is our little secret. Elite Princess Amorielise was not surprised and nodded slightly. The 2 elf elders looked at each other, not knowing what to say for a moment. Ariel said with a devilish smile in their eyes, Ants, you can find my brother when you get to the front line. My brother will make arrangements for you. If you don't cooperate, my brother will make arrangements for you on the battlefield of Dongxian Fortress. How about this? If it doesn't work, you can go fight the strongest person in the universe who is known as the Eternal Supernova, the ancestor of the Suxuan clan. Chapter 68. What are dimensional fragments? Wang Yun explained slowly, first, let's figure out what superpowers are. Yi Sui sat up straight, this was something he had always been curious about. Please, AI is to be treated as top secret. Wang Yun suddenly blurted out this sentence when answering Yi Sui's question. Yi Sui responded directly, and his mind and brain observed that Wang Yun had no emotions or changes. AI? Yi Sui asked tentatively. Wang Yun was still a little confused, what's wrong? Can AI hear you? Yi Sui suddenly asked. But the heart and brain discovered that Wang Yun's mood suddenly changed rapidly. From calm to doubt, then to panic, and then back to calm again. He really knows it. Or rather, he really realizes it. No secrets can be hidden in front of Yi Sui, as long as there are still emotions and thoughts. Well, no one can keep a secret. At this time, a pleasant female voice came from the air, using a voice that was extremely similar to that of a human, received. It has been kept as top secret. The superpowers of a person with special abilities come from within themselves. Wang Yun came up and gave a direct definition. It's just like how the racial talents of other races come from their blood and genes. Our superpowers come from our own will, thoughts, and spirit. Wang Yun's words reminded Yi Sui of what Yuan Piazi said, the ability will eventually react on the person with the ability, making him or her become radical. Wang Yun has already taken half a step onto that path. Finally, I gave up. But obviously, we can't rely on ourselves to gain abilities. Wang Yun continued, and transplanting foreign genes will destroy the health of our genes and cause genetic diseases, which is likely to affect future generations. In the early years of humankind, due to the needs of interstellar wars, there was also a period of crazy talent transplantation. The extremely low fertility rate of human beings is mainly due to changes in people's thinking, but it is also affected by genetic diseases. Speaking of this, Wang Yun's expression was gloomy. My wife suffers from an extremely special genetic disease. She should not have given birth to Wang Gangzi. However, Wang Yun quickly came back to his senses. You have to understand. Wang Yun became serious, all great power should be sought from within oneself. Whether you can become a person with special abilities and possess superpowers depends on whether your heart is strong enough. Otherwise, even if I give you the dimensional fragments, you won't be able to awaken. Moreover, dimensional fragments are hard to come by. Wang Yun opened his 5 fingers, and a palm-sized cloth was projected on his palm. This is a dimensional fragment that we condensed through special technology. We believe that the dimensional fragment is the remnant of a civilization that had reached a certain level of development and was destroyed. If the creatures under civilization are 3-dimensional, then the consciousness and thought concentration they form, civilization, this concept is real in the mind. We will destroy all the people of this civilization in the three-dimensional world, cut off the civilization and make its genes disappear. Then the civilization in the four-dimensional world will also die, and her broken body will become dimensional fragments. After hearing this, Yisui suddenly understood why humans were worried about the aliens but did not kill them in the cradle early. They wanted to raise them up before killing them. So what is the basis for the existence of those soft factions and traitors Walaya? Although Wang Yun also noticed the confusion on Yisui's face, he didn't figure out what he was confused about. We can absorb the power from the dimensional fragments and use it as a trigger to awaken our superpowers. But almost all awakened superpowers are biased towards the spiritual side, and our current cultivation direction is only to strengthen our own heart or absorb more dimensional fragments. But the dimensional fragments of different fallen civilizations are mostly incompatible. Until the emergence of psychic energy, after we met and defeated many Eldar, we dissected and analyzed their racial talents and discovered a special energy that can be pulled by mental force, psychic energy. This allows our power to work in reality. Yisui began to think silently. He had never absorbed any fragments of the life dimension. These powers came naturally after he woke up. If I absorb the dimensional fragments, will it really help me? Didn't you say that most dimensional fragments are incompatible? What use are you giving them to me? Wang Yun's smile suddenly froze, and he explained, you can study it and give it to your kind people, emphasis on usage, limited to pure-blooded humans, or you can simply destroy it and absorb its dissipated spiritual power. This is my most precious personal possession now. After all, I can't give my identity away. But I still have some friends and supporters. If you want to run for the chief, I will definitely support you. Wang Yun gave all his abilities, even habitually and involuntarily engaging in political speculation against Yisui. Yisui narrowed his eyes, that's right, this thing is already very precious. By the way, I also want to learn the so-called psychic power. The two had a good chat, and Wang Yun told Yisui that he had sent Wang Gangzi to a border star system with good conditions in the fourth border universe to serve as the governor. On the one hand, it can temper his dandy temperament, and on the other hand, it can keep him away from disputes and prevent him from being used by others. Until, when he was about to leave, Wang Yun suddenly looked back. Yisui's mind and brain noticed that Wang Yun was feeling somewhat confused and puzzled. He must have remembered something. Wang Yun said, I remember Chief Yuan Piazi once told me that the essence of ability is the plunder of life and spirit. This kind of plunder is very similar to the attraction of likes, they will gradually gather together. I haven't awakened my abilities yet, so I haven't been able to figure out this sentence, but I still think it's necessary to tell you. After that, Wang Yun left. Only Yisui was left in deep thought. Dimensional fragments are the highest level of controlled items, so they cannot be carried with you. If Yisui wants to obtain dimensional fragments, you need to go to the Temple of the Gods, and then Wang Yun will hand it over to Yisui. The star gate at the junction of the inner and outer universes on the third frontier. Vilya showed her identity and authority and rushed through the star gate without anyone coming to stop her. Behind him, Ariel used his brother's identity authority token to drive the warship directly into the working area of A the star gate. The powerful engine tail flames messed up the star gate. A lot of buildings collapsed. The Stargate officer's administrative rotation chief can only feel his heart bleed over this, and can do nothing about it. Watch them rush through the Stargate, through the space jump system, and go to the third border outer universe. Chapter 69. Vilya immediately rushed into a space jump device, and then used her authority to start the space jump. Vilya used her mental strength to attract psychic energy to protect herself from being torn apart by the drastic changes in space. Vilya turned off the instrument, and Ariel forcibly ordered the space transfer instrument that was queuing to enter to change its target anchor point. Then he drove the warship in, not giving the other merchant ships that had already entered time to leave. Princess Ariel. Amorelis asked curiously, what are we going to do? Catch up with Vilya. Ariel's eyes were full of determination. Why? Amorelis asked curiously. Ariel did not answer, but turned to look at the android maid Lakin wearing nun's clothes behind him. Are you ready? Ready? The third outer universe, Dalizlin. Dalizlin is the home planet of the Dream Eldar, and its language means fantasy forest. The Dream Eldar are a branch of the Eldar race, and their racial talent is dreams come true. In simple terms, they can passively or actively manipulate psychic energy and spend a certain amount of time to gather matter to create the things they want. The biggest characteristics are sincerity, simplicity, non-contention and not lying. Because whatever they think about, reality will appear one by one. Another characteristic is that they have no dreams, or they are dreaming every moment. Because of the influence of their racial talents, the dream spirits cannot distinguish between reality and dreams, so it can be said that they are always dreaming. If they encounter danger or invasion, they will gather together, wishing or dreaming that the enemy will die quickly, and then their huge psychic energy will tear the enemy apart. Their history is so long and their civilization is so ancient that they have created a huge planet of life. They have complete language, writing, emotions, beliefs and civilization cognition. They have believed in the Phantom Tira as the mother goddess since ancient times, and believe that everything is bestowed by the Phantom Tira. Afterwards, humans conquered the third frontier and faced off against the Eldar in the inner and outer universes for a long time. Finally, they reached an alliance and jointly established the Daxia Empire. In recent years, Princess Ariel has turned her attention and love to this peaceful and lovely race. He invested heavily in the infrastructure of the Dream Spirit clan, gave them protection, and visited the clan many times. Because of the special characteristics and low aggressiveness of the Dream Eldar, they have become some of the most popular commodities in the interstellar slave market. Princess Ariel was kind enough to prohibit the sale of the dream spirits in the slave market, and even spent a large sum of money to redeem them. They even built a doll factory in Delislin to allow them to produce replacement dolls and sell them to the stars. The Dream Eldar want to climb to the top of Ariel. They originally had no arms and legs, but they even imagined arms, legs and torsos for themselves. People who don't know might really think it is a humanoid species. Moreover, there are countless sculptures of Ariel in Delislin, and every house has a portrait of Ariel hanging on the wall. The dream spirits call Ariel the incarnation of the spirit Tira, build temples for him, offer sacrifices to him, and pray for him every day. Everything follows the sacrificial process of Phantom Tira. But Ariel did not let Delislin move from the outer universe to the inner universe. They even forcibly relocated the natives of several nearby star regions in the name of protecting Delislin's safety. They also changed hundreds of flight routes. So much so that the huge star cluster became Ariel's private land planned for it. Now, Delislin has been isolated from the world for a long time. Just today, Waylaya, who was already in a bad state, forced her body to break through the void and staged a passionate race in the universe. But he was driven into the Stargate, and his body underwent a drastic change in space and jumped to Delislinear. Waylaya wanted to absorb some of the dreams of the local natives as a supplement, but she found that the local natives don't dream at all. What is this place? Vilya hadn't paid attention to this place for a long time, and she could no longer recognize the dream elves with limbs and bodies. The streets are an extreme imitation of human life, with tall buildings and busy traffic. Everyone on the road has a happy smile, and every child is holding a doll. The smile infected Velia, and Velia couldn't help but relax. I didn't expect to meet such a happy humanoid race here. Velia sighed in her heart. Oh? No, why don't they have dreams? Suddenly, Velia looked at the end of the street and saw a huge statue of Ariel standing in front of her. Velia's eyes revealed shock. The ghost is still there. No matter how stupid or naive Velia is, she should know it. This is Ariel's trap. Suddenly, everything in the world lost its color. The colors flowed down the plastic board like thick oil painting ink being washed by water. It fell on the ground, gathered into streams, then leaped up and entangled in Ariel's fingers. Ariel came alone, with lifeless eyes and long pink hair fluttering. The world is really out of color. Black and white are out of balance, dark gray is out of balance. There is no life in this world anymore. The dream of the Dream Eldar came true. They imagined day and night that Ariel was the real god incarnate. So, Ariel is here, and he is the true god on earth. Ariel's status was elevated to the level closest to the fourth dimension, and this status was enough to get rid of Vilia's dream of sinking. Waylaya did not run away immediately. Once she was trapped in the world, there was no way to escape. My name is Ariel. That is the phantom god Tira. Ariel announced the name of God, and the sky and earth turned pale instantly, covering the entire planet of Delislin. Ariel himself spoke, I say that the sky and earth will lose their color, and all things will wither. This planet with life, which is hundreds of times larger than the sun, lost all its color in an instant. It was originally a huge planet with green as the main color, supplemented by blue and yellow. The color just evaporated into thin air. At this moment, Ariel relies on the Dream Eldar's hundreds of millions of years of accumulation and the faith of pure civilization. The status has been improved, and one's own mental strength can leverage more spiritual energy and make it stronger. It can even be said that when Ariel stands here, Delislin is the most powerful being. How can the Dream Spirit clan resist their own god? They haven't even distinguished reality from falsehood yet, and haven't realized that their lives are in danger. The constructions invested by Ariel, the statues, temples, and altars, are all part of Ariel's plan. Everyone is here to help. It's just a pity, we are running out of time. Ariel felt a little unhappy, and quickly threw it away, calling out, Miss Yimeng. Please, make all traces of Delislin disappear completely. Ariel asked softly, also, help me check if there is any risk of information leakage. Okay. Dear Ariel, how about you be my sister-in-law? The A girl Yimeng didn't know where to respond. Their civilization is about to disappear completely, and there is no risk of information leakage. Ariel. What the hell are you doing? Are you trying to drain the life force out of this place? Waylaya released her spiritual power to keep an inch of land under her feet, so, you want to destroy the civilization of the Dream Eldar. It's for the dimensional fragments again. If Ariel wants to defeat or even capture Vilya, there is no need to activate the state of ascension. The loss of color between heaven and earth is essentially the path of life and death. The essence of all abilities lies in the plunder of the spirit of life. The essence of the loss of heaven and earth is to plunder the lives of this world in order to strengthen oneself. As for Delislin and the dream spirits destroyed by Ariel, what should we do? Princess Ariel of our great Daxia Alliance is kind, virtuous, intelligent and lovely. Naturally, she cannot bear to see the suffering in the world. Don't worry, it's quick and painless. Besides, Ariel is now a betrayer. The pot was naturally carried by Waylaya. It will definitely not affect Ariel's character. The reason had been prepared long ago. The traitor Vilya was unsuccessfully hunted down by Ariel, and she was dissatisfied, so she wanted to destroy Delislin. What's more, Ariel simply cannot tolerate the emergence of a true saint who is even more saintly than Ariel in the entire galaxy. Moreover, Ariel came here in a very careful, cautious, and private manner, and even had the elf princess and 2 elf supreme elders come as witnesses. Unless you go to the Senate to find out where Ariel's permission to use the app is. What a joke. Who are you? I want to go to the Senate to investigate Ariel, are you still asleep? Ariel had been preparing for this day for a long time, redeeming the Dream Eldar all over the galaxy and ensuring that they were all captured in one fell swoop. This was the result of the joint efforts of all humans. As for the dream spirits, destroy you. What's that to you? Chapter 70. Yisui continued to stay at home and read history. Upward dimension. Creating gods. Yisui kept repeating these nouns, wondering what they meant. The a Euro girl is involved, and she is even willing to bear the cost of the intelligent machine crisis for it. For humans, the value of the mechanical simulation of emotional personality dimension ascension, planned behind the a Euro girl Yi Ming. It is greater than the ruling crisis that emotional AI may bring. This is just like in the distant history of the ancient country in the east of our ancestral star. During the Three Kingdoms period at the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty, there was a counselor in Stowaway named Cheng Yu. However, the army was short of food, so Cheng Yu used human flesh to replenish the food supply. Eating human flesh may harm the health of soldiers, undermine the stability of rule, and cause a serious moral crisis. This is obvious, everyone knows it, and it is very harmful. But the army has no food, and there is a crisis on the front line. In this case, the natural choice is to choose the lesser of two evils. Maybe, for interstellar humans, so what does it mean to machine simulate the emotional personality dimension and ascend? Is it mechanical ascension? Is the emotional AI girl like positronic artificial intelligence? Yisui feels that there is still a big difference between them. Why did you jump around at that time? Yisui suddenly felt a little regretful. Bai Lingyan accompanied Yisui obediently every day. She keenly noticed that Yisui was restless these days. Although I don't Euro trademark T know why, but for Bai Lingyan, all I can do is to accompany you quietly. She also changed into maid, JK, nurse, Lolita, bunny girl, secretary outfits, and the gothic style that left a deep impression on Yisui, and served as a lap pillow for Yisui. Bai Lingyan likes to change into different styles of uniforms every day, jogging and skipping down the stairs. She came to Yisui, who was reading in the garden, and turned around happily. The butterfly lands on the fingertips, and the beauty is pleased with her lover. Until the sun sets and the birds return to their nests. Hearing the sound of Yisui's steady breathing and the wind, Bai Lingyan couldn't help but sing softly the little song her mother used to sing. Looking at Yisui's sleeping face with tenderness and love, the hope of my life. Then, the sun completely sets, and the night gradually permeates the sky. When Yisui wakes up, he will hug Bai Lingyan, whose thighs are a little numb, and walk upstairs quickly in a shy manner. Bai Lingyan didn't know who to pray to, so she could only pray silently to Yisui in her heart. I said this silently, I cannot let His Highness Yisui hear it, what if he thinks I am being arrogant because of my favor? Bai Lingyan made a wish in silence, Your Highness Yisui. If you really can hear me, I wish this happiness could stay forever, in my heart. Perhaps, Bai Lingyan wanted more than just to remember. However, the humility of love and the wisdom taught by life made her wishes so insignificant. Yisui and Bai Lingyan spent a few days in a nourishing relationship, and Yisui's mood gradually became less heavy. Yuan Piazi was right. The more secrets you know, the heavier the burden on your heart. The ancestral worship ceremony has been prepared. Starting from April 4th, sacrifices are offered to one temple every day, in the following order, Nuwa Temple, Yanhuang Temple, and Temple of Athena. After that, the 6 mountains are 2 mountains that are worshipped at the same time, namely, Mount Tai in the Alps, Chenbai Mountain and the Himalayas, Kunlun Mountain and the Rocky Mountains. After offering sacrifices at the 3 temples and 6 mountains, it took 6 days to go to the capital Beijing for a main sacrifice. Just in time for Ariella Euro trademark S birthday on April 13th. The 3 temples and 6 mountains above are dedicated to ancestors and the mother planet, while the grand ceremony in the capital Beijing is mainly dedicated to the tragedy brought to human civilization by the Third World War. In the past, ancestor worship was quite chaotic. As long as he was a human being, he would hold a position in the Historical and Cultural Heritage Committee of the Executive Committee of the United Humanity Congress, or the Ancestral Worship Organizing Committee of the Senate. Then he can participate in it. However, after Yisui arrived, he began to revise the rules. Anyone who wants to participate in its organizational process must apply to the Senate Ancestor Worship Activities Organizing Committee. Secretary Liu then represented Yisui and negotiated with the Senate's Ancestor Worship Organizing Committee to arrange their work and tasks. In the past ancestor worship activities, the History and Culture Heritage Committee of the Executive Committee of the United Humanities Conference, also known as the Humanities Conference History and Culture Committee. It is a relic of the Human United Government. When the Human United Government was reorganized, it also revived. The mutual entanglement and exclusion between the Human Face Cultural and Historical Committee and the Senate Ancestor Worship Activities Organizing Committee are the reasons for the chaos in the organization of the ancestor worship activities. But, more importantly, what lies behind the two is the struggle between the Human United Government and the Senate. Only Yisui served as the chairman of the Human United Assembly and the Joint Conference of All Humanity, as well as the vice chairman of the Senate. Only in this way can the two departments put aside their struggle and work together. In fact, just because of Yisui's casual words, the two departments that had been fighting for thousands of years finally decided the winner. Unconsciously, the centralization of power in the Senate was further strengthened. Yisui handled and arranged everything very well during those days, until he went to inspect the Nuwa Temple. Then Yisui retired to a secluded place and took care of nothing, and Secretary Liu also became idle. However, Yisui broke the original balance, causing the Senate's Ancestor Worship Organizing Committee to actually take back all powers regarding ancestor worship. In order to demonstrate its legitimacy, the Senate's Ancestor Worship Organizing Committee would report progress to Yisui every now and then. Yisui was worried during those days, so he said, everything remains the same. Until the day when the ancestor worship ceremony began, they finally invited Yisui to be the main priest of the ceremony. Yisui mainly led people to worship at the Nuwa Temple, and then the general worship in Beijing. Because there are fewer people participating this time, it is more convenient to organize, but no one is enthusiastic about holding a big event. After all, there was still a war going on in the starry sky battlefield of Dongxian Fortress, and it was also Ariella Euro Trademark S birthday and Yisui Euro Trademark S awakening. No one has the heart to pay respect to their ancestors. Yisui didn't Euro Trademark T have much feeling either, and felt that the ancestor worship activities were just average. That is, the Nuwa Temple is decorated with lights and colorful decorations, peach charms and green words are pasted everywhere, and everyone wears corresponding formal clothes. Because they were worshipping Nuwa, they wore an ancient dress similar to the Rizai dress and wooden clogs on their feet. Each person held a pot of orchid, covering their faces, and stood in neat formation. Yisui led the way, 3 steps ahead of the square formation, until he led everyone into the hall. Before entering the main hall, everyone must place the orchid on the corresponding step. Then there were some songs that Yisui was not familiar with, and Yisui felt that they were not traditional enough. Then, Yisui recited the prepared sacrificial text, recalling the beginning of civilization, promoting the merits of ancestors, praising today's prosperity, and praying for blessings for the future. It's average, nothing new or special. Not even traditional or serious enough. There is not even a sacrifice of 3 animals. I can understand that we should keep up with the times and let our ancestors and mother taste the new things from outer space. But the act of holding a pot of orchid and covering the face is so abstract. Who did this fancy work? Don't do it again next time. After waiting for the show to end, Yisui opened his mind and unexpectedly felt that everyone was quite satisfied, happy, and interested. Has the aesthetic taste of interstellar humans fallen so low? Get closer and listen to them. Everyone also noticed Yisui approaching and thought he was here to collect everyone's opinions, so they deliberately praised him loudly. By the way, the idea of a euro holding orchids in my hands is really touching. I smelled the fragrance of orchids, wore those retro clothes, and heard the crisp sounds of wooden clogs stepping on bluestone bricks. I even felt like I was walking with my ancestors. Yes, that's right. Did people live like this 10,000 years ago, before the Third World War? Yisui was totally incredulous. Xian now told Yisui that although they had discovered Yisui and were suspected of trying to please him, they were not lying. Why is this happening? Even if history has really passed 10,000 years ago, it is unlikely that they would get this wrong. Yisui suddenly had a bold guess, thinking back to the time when the a euro girl Yimeng wanted to execute him. Confusing the Qing dynasty's Keisha cow beheading. Doesn't a euro trademark T this mean that a euro civilization was cut off 1 C euro? Chapter 71. The more Yisui thinks about it, the more likely it becomes. Although, at this moment, every corner of the Daxia Alliance is filled with new retro trends. However, this is not the case for Yisui, a human who has fully experienced human civilization before the Third World War. Especially Yisui, who listens to everything, is knowledgeable in all texts, and has a heart and brain. He finally understood where the feeling of anxiety and restlessness that had come from since he left Nuwa's presence came from. What was that joy that didn't come from Yuan Piazi? Easy year hardship. Yisui went to the nearby 3 wars ruins without stopping. The most recent remains of the 3 battles of Chang'an. The ruins after the nuclear war, the exposed rusty steel bars. The asphalt road was shattered into a pile of powder, and only the vague outlines of the flower beds and the flowers, plants, and trees whose growth was intentionally controlled could be seen. The tragedy of this battle is too numerous to count in the starry sky. If Yisui opens up to listen to everything to the greatest extent, then Yisui could hear it for real, echoing over this land for 10,000 years. Shouts of anger, howls of pain, screams of despair and cries of helplessness. Mom. Yisui saw a young man with bloodshot eyes in his mind, looking towards the direction of the nuclear explosion and called out instinctively. Son, where are you? Yisui saw in his mind a haggard woman with only 1 leg left hiding in the air raid shelter. She was knocked off the bed by the aftermath of the nuclear explosion. The air raid shelter was out of power. Her eyes were already injured by the explosion, and she couldn't find her child. Oh my god! The old man who couldn't enter the air raid shelter muttered as he sat on the sofa, looking at the rising mushroom cloud. Help me! This is a lucky girl. She was severely burned, irradiated, deaf and blind, and her lower body was blown off. She instinctively called for help. Woo-woo-woo. It was the sound of crying. A dirty little girl was crying, then a couple was crying, then a class of students was crying, then the entire city of 20 million people were crying. People are crying. Even at the end, Yisui heard a compassionate cry from mother. Yisui's mind and brain uncontrollably entered a high-frequency state. In a blink of an eye, Yisui felt as if he was standing in outer space outside the Earth. Right now is a beautiful and magnificent mother planet. Then, dazzling red explosions occurred, and mushroom clouds rose into the sky. Destruction, destruction, and endless destruction. Hell and purgatory are the punishment for people's own sins. Listen to everything, but hear the cries of nearly 10 billion people. Mom, I don't trademark T want to die, A euro then came a call that was getting closer, more intimate, more compassionate, full of maternal and greatness, flowing in the blood and rooted in the spirit. A euro children, a euro don't kill each other anymore. This is the calling of mother. And this calling, it originates from the accumulation of everything in the entire civilization for thousands of years, whether it is tens of thousands of years of history, countless cultures, various languages, characters. There are also nearly 10 billion humans and all the countless humans who have rested on this planet since the beginning of human civilization. Their spirits, consciousness, and thoughts are intertwined, integrated and sublimated. Until a civilization concept body belonging to human beings was born in the fourth dimension. She can see clearly the past, present, and future of the entire civilization. She is crying. World War III, even if it is a brutal and unreserved nuclear war. We can never wipe out human civilization so easily. Dongda has the world's strongest and most complete human defense system. Enough to keep civilization alive. There are also some lucky ones surviving in other parts of the world. But Mother saw the future with her own eyes. The people who crawled out of the ruins of World War III rebuilt civilization after tenaciously surviving and struggling to survive. Then the Fourth World War will break out again, which will be even more cruel and tragic. Time and again, the cycle will never end. But the mother looked heartbroken. She couldn't bear to watch her children killing each other again and again. Mother is crying. Mother is shouting. A euro children, a euro stop killing each other. But the mother knows that she is the result of this civilization, and the future is also born because of her. Then. So, at that moment, Yisui heard the sound of a four-dimensional creature cutting itself off, the sound of a concept of civilization collapsing. It's the sound of the sky falling. The sky has fallen. The loving and great mother fell from the fourth dimension to the human world, and with a warm and kind hug, she gave her children a last-ditch effort to resist the aftermath. It has preserved 100 million sparks for human civilization, far exceeding expectations. The loving and great mother used her vigorous spiritual power to enlighten a few people and awaken their abilities. The loving and great mother uses her powerful body to eliminate radiation and dangers on the earth and improve the environment. The loving and great mother used her strong and persistent consciousness to penetrate the remaining 100 million people and left a mark of thought. A euro humans should never kill each other. This is a mother's admonition to her children, a earnest instruction over and over again. The new human civilization will have nothing to do with her. When the last person of the old era dies, she will lose her life at a loss. Wait until all evidence of human civilization before World War III has disappeared in the years. The mother of mankind will also disappear completely. Even humans can't remember their mother in past civilizations. Why did mother still exist before Yisui woke up? Because, Mo Sui still exists. Mo Sui was born the day before the Third World War and belongs to the old human race. I don't Euro trademark T really want to write the above 3 paragraphs. I think such lyrical things should be more subtle. If they are written out too stiffly, it may affect everyone a Euro trademark S impression. But I a Euro trademark am afraid people will say I can't a Euro trademark T understand it, or that I a Euro trademark am a Riddler a Euro, lead a Euro trademark S do this, democratically vote, everyone, express your opinions on the above, and I will decide whether to delete or keep it. The content in brackets will only be kept for 1 day, and those who don't a Euro trademark T speak will be considered a Euro excellent citizen sa Euro. When Yisui opened his eyes again, he still saw the ruins of the Third Battle of Chang'an. The place was in ruins and devastation. Such ruins were everywhere in Zuxing. Yisui even feels that the reason why interstellar humans have forgotten their home planet is. Yisui felt that there was a powerful force correcting his consciousness. At that moment, Yisui's eyes glowed with golden light again. Yes. It's the Earth. Yisui was very happy that he finally remembered it. I will push for a resolution in the Senate so that all human beings will know about it. A euro, the name of the ancestral planet is Earth. This resolution can't wait, so I went back to the Senate and drafted it now. We will try to have a vote in the next 2 days, and we must use the word Earth openly on the 7th day, the last day of the main ceremony. No, ancestor worship is an administrative matter, so just issue an administrative order. No need to wait for the resolution to be passed, you can change the ancestor worship to ancestor planet, Earth now. Immediately tell all the units involved in ancestor worship to add the word Earth after the name of my ancestral star. Yisui excitedly used AI communication to give everyone this order. At this moment, humans remembered. It turns out that the name of the ancestral planet is Earth. Chapter 72. Ariel had long been eyeing the civilization of the Dream Eldar. The layout of Dala's temple, altar, and infrastructure has also been carefully prepared in advance. He even deliberately created his own beliefs and tried to usurp the position of the phantom spirit Tira. Ariel didn't want to start this place early. But time waits for no one. Ariel had to use his butcher knife to kill the lamb that was not yet fully grown. In the hope of gaining enough strength, the Senate will fight against Yisui. At this moment, Ariel, hanging high in the sky, has completely pulled Dala's into a world that is separated from black and white and has lost its vitality. This is the ultimate display of the colorless world, withered world. At present, Ariel's experience and control are still too weak to fully exert the power of withered world. This ability can only be used to speed up the plundering of the vitality of the Dream Eldar and conceal the location of Dala's. As the world lost its color, Vilya was unable to move. After falling into the withered world, she could not even maintain the color on her body. I'm about to become like that. AI girl Yimeng, the crazy information flow swept through AI and all its networks, eliminating any evidence of the Dream Eldar civilization. Fortunately, the Dream Eldar don't have a planet that needs to be destroyed. Dalizlin is just a gathering of psychic energy. As long as the Dream Eldar are destroyed, the material that makes up Dalizlin will naturally disappear along with the escaping psychic energy. The dream spirits have no idea what is real or fake, and they can't stop the gods they worship. In the real and fake world that the fantasy spirits indulge in, it is Fantasy Tira who wants to punish them with extinction. A civilization that only wants to survive at the mercy of others will surely perish after she stops being merciful. Of course, this doesn't mean that this race is inherently so abstract. There is an economic foundation behind it that cannot be ignored. A race that does not produce anything will certainly not know how to be self-reliant. For the Dream Spirit clan, the creator is too partial to them. As a result, they can obtain all the material needs of civilization without spending any labor or consumption, and without taking any risks. All it takes is imagination. It would be fine if they could realize that imagination is also a kind of productivity. But unfortunately, they attributed everything to the gift and blessing of the Phantom Tira of faith. With such an absurd material economic foundation, civilization dies in such a ridiculous way. It is obviously a necessity. Withered World is essentially a special attack of the four-dimensional world on the three-dimensional world. Ariel has already absorbed all the limbs and bodies of the Fantasy Eldar. These limbs and torsos were originally created to please Ariel. The white that separated the spiritual power from the black and white floated up into the clear sky, allowing Ariel to absorb its spiritual power. The spiritual energy is precipitated with black and white and becomes black, sinking into the turbidity of the earth, and obeying Ariel's command at any time. Vilya only needs to exert a little mental strength to draw out the spiritual energy of a tsunami and landslide. Psychic energy is an inert substance that reacts with any substance in the universe except spiritual power, including light, so it cannot be observed or recognized. Only when you use it, you can feel its omnipresence. The huge psychic tsunami was pulled and carried away by the black that symbolizes death and the end, enveloping and attacking Vilya in a terrifying and fierce state. Even though, you, Vilya, are really a six-winged angel, at this moment, you have to bow down to the gods. But for Ariel, he still needs to establish his own personality and give the aliens a dream to fantasize about. You can find someone to do this kind of thing, and you just need to pick the peaches. It's not that there is no one available in Ariel. But the situation has reached the point where Ariel must prove his ability in order to continue to gain support. You only need to take the risk of destroying your character to exterminate a race that has long been controlled to death. No one wants to risk. How can you make others believe that you can resist the oppression of Yisui, the reincarnated tyrant, in front of the Senate? In order to conceal her identity, Ariel specifically guided and forced Vilya to come to Dalizlin to be her scapegoat. There is a saying that goes, heretics are more hateful than pagans. Ariel advocates gentleness, tolerance, and benevolence. These are real. But Ariel's love has different levels and distinctions. And Vilya truly loves the universe and wants to eliminate hatred. This is also the reason why Ariel has completely mastered the situation but has not yet taken down Vilya. In addition, it is also to bring out civilized consciousness. How can a civilization that thrives endlessly be so easily extinct? When the last person dies, this civilization can stop living. When the last object or culture that can prove the existence of civilization is forgotten by time, a civilization disappears completely. The production of dimensional fragments must be related to the death of a civilization. Humanity, countless civilizations have perished over the past 10,000 years, but the output of dimensional fragments is not much. This is a reason that is inconceivable and difficult for humans to understand, and it is also the realistic consideration that the conciliatory faction is willing to be conciliatory towards other races. The universe is so huge and so strange. Humans can Euro trademark T kill them al Euro. And, at this moment, Vilya is at the point where she is helpless and has no way to retreat. As a last resort, Waylaya closed her eyes sadly, tears of pity, self-blame, and guilt rolled down her eyes. Please remember that the essence of superpowers lies in the plunder of life and spirit. It's not to blindly draw spiritual energy, nor is it to transform into a six-winged angel and stab others with a spiritual spear. It's plunder. The game of big eating small to become bigger. Vilya no longer restrained herself and released the restrictions of sinking dream. Go. Unscrupulously and insanely plundering the spiritual power of the Dream Eldar. Ariel is still too young, she is not yet 18 years old and Vilya is already over 1,000 years old. Even though Ariel possesses a status comparable to that of a god, her world is eclipsed and she cannot compete with Vilya's dream of sinking in the battle for spiritual power. After all, every profession has its specialization. In an instant, Dalizlin was covered with bright red roses and pure lilies. Dalizlin seems to have turned into a huge garden. Then the garden quickly withered and died. Black and white quickly took over again. The difference is that this time, Vilya used her power not to help the Dream Eldar resist Ariel's plunder. It's about comparing who plunders faster. Countless dream elves frantically switched back and forth between the world-destroying punishment of the god Phantom Tira and the happy, beautiful garden woven by Vilya. The bodies of the dream spirits were still being drawn away from life by the black and white, but at the same time, bright roses were blooming on their bodies. It won't hurt. Vilya prayed silently in her heart, when I defeat Ariel, I will return your spiritual power. But how many dream spirits can survive until then? Not enough. Ariel thought to himself, how can a civilization that dotes on its own race sit back and do nothing? If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.